Hi, I'm Carlin Borisenko. In early 2020, I was the knitting Democrat who accidentally went viral on the internet for going to a Trump rally and then left the party. I became the conservative darling, was on all the shows, traveled around the country, and then realized that conservatives were no better than Democrats. If there's one thing that I've learned, it's that both political tribes are two sides of the same coin. But it wasn't all bad. On my journey, I became obsessed with understanding the woke ideology and the culture war. I broke the story of the city of Seattle doing segregated training with its employees.
How bad has this stuff become? The city of Seattle has now put out, I'm not kidding you, this is according to Dr. Carolyn Borisenko, who's an organizational psychologist. The city of Seattle asked its white employees to voluntarily spend a day off in a training about their internalized racial superiority.
I broke the story that led to the first ever federal lawsuit against critical race theory in the schools. I broke the Coke Be Less White story, one of the biggest anti-woke stories of all time. It got over 30 million views. Coca-Cola's corporate headquarters even had to change their outgoing voicemail.
Throughout the past few days, you may have seen inaccurate reporting on the content of our recently launched diversity, equity, and inclusion training program.
I exposed the schools in Burlington, Vermont for grooming middle school children live on the internet. They called me an unwoke cult leader for that. And the Vermont Human Rights Commission slandered me publicly as being a hate channel. I even got called a hero in Breitbart for exposing that the Washington Post was writing a hit piece on Christopher Rufo. I have broken story after story after story about what's going on in the public schools, from Cambridge, Massachusetts, to autistic sex education, to the Department of Education in Michigan, literally training teachers all over the state how to groom children. I wrote a book called Actively Unwoke, the ultimate guide for fighting back against the woke insanity in your life. I host a podcast all about fighting back, and I'm downloading all of my knowledge to you on my Substack, carlin.substack.com. The world is a crazy place. We are literally surrounded by cults on all sides. On this show, we're going to do a deep dive into all aspects of the culture war, and I will show you the dark, dystopian underbellies on both sides. Here are the commitments I'll make to you. I will always tell you the truth. I will always bring you receipts. And if you stick with me, I promise you will see the world differently. Welcome to the cult. Please mount that like button for me and subscribe if you feel so inclined. Well, hey guys, is there anything going on tonight? Anything going on tonight that we should discuss? All right, so I have a rule on my channel for those who are new here. When we go live for late night streams, we're chill. No need to stress out. Let's light an incense. Let's, make it nice. Make it chill. And part of the reason I say that is that as soon as I set up this stream tonight before I went to have dinner, I got this comment. This video is verbal disagreement. It's also edited. You've earned my unsubscribe for this. Oh, and you don't get moral high ground by promoting one-sided gossip. And I'm like, bro, you don't even know what I'm going to say. You have no idea what I'm going to say. And one of the reasons I'm going live tonight, even though I just had some of the most amazing pizza I've ever had in my life, and I could very easily sit down on my couch and watch a movie, is because I promise you that I'm probably going to be the most nuanced person who talks about this tonight. And that's the truth. Because I'm not taking anyone's side. I don't really care. I am not on Crowder's side. I'm not on Candace Owens' side. I'm not on the Daily Wire's side. I'm not on Steven Crowder's wife's side. I'm sure as shit not on Yasser Ali's side. So you don't even know what I'm going to say. And I promise you that I'm actually going to give multiple perspectives. I can empathize on many different sides of this. And I don't have loyalties to anyone. So maybe don't be so quick to unsubscribe, truth seeker. When you don't even know what's going on, bro, relax. So can everyone just agree that we're gonna chill out? Can everyone just agree? No, No, so you're already pissed. Because I made a video calling Candace Owens a narcissist, people are like, you took Steven Crowder's side. No, I didn't. I want to be very clear. And then we're going to talk about chilling again before we actually get into the news. Candace Owens is absolutely 100% a narcissist. Nothing changes about the video that I didn't comment on Steven Crowder or his marriage either way. What I said was that Candace Owens damn well should have kept her nose out of it because it wasn't any of her fucking business. And guess what? This isn't any of our business. It's not any of our business. None of that is going to change. So no, I wasn't on Crowder's side. Candace Owens is still a raging narcissist, and I still don't think she should be commenting on it. And the only reason I decided to comment on it was because, again, I suspect that I'm going to be the most nuanced person offering commentary on this situation because I don't care. My husband watches Crowder. I don't. No offense, not to him, but like, makes no difference to me who does what and who does what to whom and how. So let's talk about chilling for a second, guys. Oh, this got incense ash all over my desk. That's great. Let me put this down. Let me put it in the incense burner over here instead of waving it around like a hooligan. Ah, perfect. On my rule, we have two channels in on my channel. There we go. Dyslexic again. On my channel, we have two rules in the chat. Number one, don't be a dick. Do not insult me. Do not insult other people in the chat. I don't care if you insult the people that we're watching. It makes no difference. They're not here. They don't have to, but we have to be in this space together. And I don't want to be insulted. And I don't think any of you want to be insulted. So we play nice in my chat. We all want to be in the same space. We all want to have a nice time tonight. Let's have a nuanced chat. No one needs to get pissed off. So that's rule number one. Don't be a dick. Rule number two, no whining. I am 42 years old. I don't have kids for a reason. I don't want to deal with whining in my own house. I definitely don't want to deal with whining on the internet. So if I ask you to stop doing something or turn it down a notch because we're chill, then just stop doing it. I don't want to hear whining. I don't want to hear complaining. I don't want to hear, I'm not doing that thing you told me to stop doing, because you are doing that thing I told you to stop doing. And you're messing up my nice chill environment for everyone. And just relax, bro. You guys can shitpost wherever you want on the internet. You just can't do it here. All right? Chill. So, tonight, right after I got off my stream and I was about to order my amazing pizza from Giorgio's in New Hampshire, this was brought to my attention. Yasser Ali, over on Twitter. I've obtained over 3 minutes of video of Steven Crowder being emotionally abusive towards his pregnant wife, Hillary. And then we also have a statement from the family. Nuclear, I would never get high before I go on the internet. I don't know why you would ask such a thing. That would never, ever, 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 ever happen. God, we're not savages here, all right? And then Emphasize says, truce tonight then. Well, Emphasize, I'm not on your side either. You dislike me kicking the shit out of you. It's all right, man. I'll take your money. So, this video came out about Steven Crowder. And I'm not going to lie, I watched it. And on one hand, I don't think it looks good. On the other hand, I've been married for 12 years. And I know that things happen between married couples that are not necessarily indicative of the full breadth of their relationship. So I could be potentially of two minds about this. And don't worry, we're going to watch the whole thing. What I have planned tonight is I want to watch this video which is really on Yasser Ali's Substack, which is taking a second to load. I can't imagine why. But we're going to watch the full video. There it is. We're going to watch the full video. We might rewind. We might watch it a couple times just because it's only 3 minutes long. And I want to talk about what I saw there and what I think about it. And we're going to look at this video, just a little tiny segment of this video that Michael Malice did with Dave Landau, who I don't know and I don't really care about at all. The only reason I know about even who this guy is because this video kind of made the rounds and a lot of people were sending it to me, asking me what I thought. And I was like, I have no idea who he is. I don't really care. But I did end up actually watching it. I watched it earlier today. And there is something in this video that does give me pause as an organizational psychologist, as someone who quite literally teaches bosses how to treat their employees so their employees have a good work environment. I have opinions about one specific thing in this contract discussion that Dave Landau was talking about that he had with Steven Crowder, and that gives me pause. And we're going to talk about that. And then, predictably, Candace had to stick her nose again where it doesn't belong because Candace Owens is a raging absolute narcissist. And nothing Steven Crowder has ever said or ever done will change the fact that Candace Owens is a raging narcissist. Steven Crowder could have literally released a video of Steven Crowder punching his wife in the face while she was pregnant, and Candace Owens would still be a raging narcissist. So, two people can be bad in this situation. And I haven't watched this whole video yet, but I watched a clip here and there just to make sure it was what I thought it would be. And I want to hear the glee in which Candace Owens shares information about someone's marriage falling apart because of emotional abuse. And I just want to watch the glee in which she shares this because, mark my words, Candace Owens does not give two shits about Hillary Crowder. She does not care about her at all in one iota. She is pissed off because now Steven Crowder has come at her publicly and ripped the mask off, spoiled the facade, if you will. She's pissed off that Steven Crowder keeps coming at her publicly and making her look bad, and she can't help but respond. So Candace is going to have nothing. Listen, guys. When a marriage falls apart, especially when it falls apart when the wife is pregnant and they're about to have children, that is a really sad thing, regardless of when it happened or how it happened. There was obviously a time in their lives when they really loved each other. And quite frankly, maybe they still do love each other. Maybe they still do, because love is weird like that. It is not a logical thing. And you can hate someone and love someone at the same time. The opposite of love is not hate. The opposite of love is apathy. And so if you still care about someone, there's still some bit of love there. The phrase love to hate or hate to love, quite frankly, both of them are phrases for a reason. Okay? So I think that what has happened in Steven Crowder's marriage is an extremely sad thing. I quite frankly, and I said this a little bit earlier, but I'll repeat it because it does bear repeating. I don't think this is any of our business. I don't think that Candace Owens ever should have hinted at what she knew on her show back in January. That obviously pissed Steven Crowder off because he's been carrying it around ever since. I don't think it was any of her business to do it then. I don't think it is any of our business to do it now. The reason, again, that I'm commenting on this is because I'm like this small little like commentator that's off on the side and that like mostly flies under the radar, and I'm totally fine with that. I don't want to be Candace Owens. I don't want to be Steven Crowder. No, thank you. But I do think that I'm actually going to be probably the most nuanced person you're going to find speaking about this on the effing internet. Because everyone else, all these other YouTubers, all these other commentators, they all either are friends with one of the sides or they want to impress one of the sides, right? I don't care at all. I have removed myself from this world entirely, and I still do commentary and stuff because I think the culture war is interesting and fascinating. But I don't want to impress these people. I don't want anything to do with these people. I think from a psychological perspective, it's interesting. And I think that a nuanced conversation deserves to be had. So that's why I'm doing it. So I suspect we're going to watch this video from Candace and we're going to see a narcissist absolutely reveling in the moment of being able to get one at one of her mortal enemies because his marriage is falling apart and really incriminating evidence leaked on the internet. And I don't think that that's appropriate and I don't think that that's good. I'm sorry. And it's not me taking Steven Crowder's side to say that because I quite frankly don't know what I think about the Steven Crowder stuff. I am of two minds. But Candace's behavior, you want to call this being a conservative? Is this what a conservative does? Just keeps engaging in this petty bullshit? Listen, man, I'll fight. I will talk about other commentators when they come at me. I will when someone lies about me and smears me on the internet, I will defend myself. But do you know what I don't do? I don't go after people unless they have given me a very good reason to. Candace Owens goes after people for no good reason and does the most malicious thing she can possibly do. And it's like, you're telling me that this is a conservative? You're telling me that I mean, I obviously have more feelings about Candace right now than I do about Steven Crowder, and this is supposed to be a video about Steven Crowder. Anyway, I will save my feelings about Candace for later, and we will go and watch Steven Crowder. But before we get into that, guys, I just want to go, that's a different thing. But before we get into that, I'm going to shill for something. And I'm not going to shill for my Substack today, although you are always welcome to visit my Substack and subscribe to my Substack, which is carlin.substack.com. And I'll put it on the ticker below just in case someone feels like subscribing to it. I should have an article coming out later tonight if I feel like it. Black Dynamite says based Crowder. Well, I don't know about that, Black Dynamite, but we're all allowed to our opinions, aren't we? But guys, I do want to tell you about my Unwoke art merch store because I have started a merchandise store that is directly about doing political and cultural commentary with a little bit of like naughty subversion. It's totally a counterculture thing. Woke equals authoritarian to me. And so to be unwoke is to like embrace this kind of counterculture thing that's going on. And so one of the ways I support my unwoke activism is I sell really cool merch that I really enjoy making. We have right now a limited edition Tucker Carlson series. This will probably be in the store for about another week. I made some fun designs of Tucker Carlson, both as our one true king with a nice gold crown. I also did, I'm sorry, this just looks cool, man. Like, this shirt just looks cool. It looks good on a mug. It looks good on other stuff too. Like, I just think that's one of the coolest designs. It's Tucker Carlson wearing headphones. And the whole idea is that he should block out all the haters and just do what he wants to do. And so all of my designs have a little story behind them, a little bit of commentary. You can check some of them out. I also have some staples in the store, like this Be Different Cheshire cat design. You can get on stickers, t-shirts, even a mouse pad because one of my supporters requested that. So we've got that. We've got some cool hoodies. I'm getting this hoodie right here, which is just like Unwoke, but on a really cool gold hoodie. You also have my cult merchandise, which I had such a fun time making this for. You can pay homage to me, your great and glorious leader. Anyway, I've got a lot of cool stuff in the merch store. We got stuff around politics. We got stuff around culture. If you want to check it out, it does support the work I'm doing. And like I said, I really do have a really good time making it. And I also have an Unwoke art Substack that every time I add a new design to the store, I basically post an article on the Substack telling a little story about what's going on and why I made the design. And if you want to sign up for email updates for free, you can find out when new stuff is added to the store, and I really appreciate it. All right, guys, that's my shilling. Let's start at the start because I actually think that Mike Cernovich has a really, really, really interesting perspective on this that is worth noting going into it. Conservatives say it's inappropriate to discuss Crowder's divorce. Yes, that is what his ex wife's lawyers asked Crowder to do. Instead, he made a video blaming his soon to be ex wife for a divorce and used an old Candace clip to create drama. Now, no one can talk? Oh, shut up. Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with using the Candace clip, but I think Mike Cernovich's main point is actually more salient in this case. Free life advice. If you're on Ring Video being not very nice to your estranged wife, listen to her lawyers when they say they want this all kept private for your kids' sake. Do not do a massively viral video blaming her for divorcing you. You know, you got to give him credit. This is a really fair point. I think it's rather obvious that the release of the video came from Hillary Crowder's family. Who else could it have come from? And not even her family. It came from Hillary Crowder. Let's just be blunt. The release came from Hillary Crowder because who else would have that footage? And they also have a statement from the family that we're going to read. So, well, I think that it's bullshit that Candace stuck her nose into this. I also think that, Crowder knew more about this situation than anyone else. And he still chose to go on the internet in front of millions of people and talk about his divorce and, say that his wife maybe shouldn't be allowed to leave him, which I didn't really comment on in the other video. Preeminently because I wasn't quite sure what to make of the comment. Is it just something that he's saying out of stress, or he's feeling a little distraught about things? Or is it something like, my wife shouldn't be allowed to leave me? I mean, you could interpret it both ways, so I just didn't make comment on it because I didn't know which way to interpret it. But it is a very fair point that when there's a video of you doing things that you probably don't want on the internet, and you make kind of like a baity video to complain about your wife divorcing you, that when you didn't want to get divorced, you're kind of asking for trouble. Like Steven Crowder was asking for trouble. Maybe Steven Crowder is very used to playing with fire. Maybe Steven Crowder, didn't expect his wife to release the video, but you can only push people so far. And if this is the long culmination of like a year and a half process of him getting divorced, maybe talking about it on the internet wasn't the best move he ever could have made. Heather, new to the channel from Orlando. Cool artwork. I appreciate that, Heather. Thank you. So that's Mike Cernovich's take. And, that probably would have been really good advice for Steven Crowder to heed beforehand. But, he didn't. And he went on the internet the other day and talked about he and his wife getting a divorce, or his wife divorcing him, was pretty cryptic about it. Then kind of went off on Candace Owens for saying cryptic stuff on her stream. I covered that in another video. We don't need to cover that here. And now Yasser Ali has released this 3-minute video that we're going to watch of Steven Crowder, what I would say is being really kind of abusive to his wife. Emotionally abusive, not physically abusive. Now, I'm of a couple minds about this, and I will probably be repeating this a couple times on this stream because I'm sure I'm going to have fans of both Steven Crowder and Candace Owens and people who are just in between the two and don't really care. I'm not on anyone's side. Whoever wins in this little fight makes no difference to me. I personally think that neither of them are probably heroes. And I don't think that what happened in this video was good. But I also want to present a different perspective here. This is a 3-minute video. We don't know what happened before the video started. We don't know what happened after the video started. I've been married for 12 years. Okay? I can tell you, and I love my husband very much, and I will never leave my husband. And you would literally have to drag me away kicking and screaming. I would never leave my husband. And I don't think he'd leave me either. I'm pretty sure. He seems to like me a lot. So, My husband and I have absolutely gotten in fights like this. And we have both, sometimes sober, sometimes when we've had a little too much to drink. And this hasn't happened recently, I should say. I'm just trying to present some more context to people who aren't married and don't know what that type of dynamic is. My husband and I have had moments where we've gotten into fights that look a lot like this, where things that were said from both parties that weren't really meant, but that were said to be really hurtful at the time because we ourselves were feeling hurt by something that the other person did, okay? In any long-term relationship, in any marriage especially, you are going to have moments where you get in really bad fights. And I think that, if you can work through those fights, that is a reflection of the strength of the relationship. And some people can work through them and some people can't. I have been very lucky that my husband and I have been able to work through the very rare instances in our marriage where we have had really bad fights and we have both said extremely hurtful things and we have both said things that we didn't mean with the specific purpose of hurting the other person because we were hurt and that's what happens. And so I would never want a 3-minute segment of one of those fights to be leaked onto the internet and to have that encapsulate the full breadth of my marriage, because I actually think the more important thing in my marriage is that we have both been able to work through those situations. All right. So we don't know what happened before this. We don't know what happened after this. I also have to say that it is a little bit suspicious to me that this video was leaked to Yasser Ali, who is an extreme leftist. Why is Yasser Ali releasing this video? Not exactly a fan of Steven Crowder. Why was this leaked to Candace Owens, who hates Steven Crowder more than anyone on the planet? And the people, Hillary Crowder and Hillary Crowder's family, who chose to leak the video and the statement to a renowned leftist of Yasser Ali and to Candace Owens, who hates Steven Crowder more than anyone on the planet, you're telling me that those are the two reputable, credible journalists who obviously have no bias in the situation at all and would never do anything that was unethical to smear an extremely popular conservative commentator that they don't like. It all seems a little too perfect to me. And I say that also saying that I don't like what I see Steven Crowder do in this video. I don't like his specific actions because Hillary Crowder is obviously terrified in this video. And he just keeps going and going and going and going. And it is also pretty obvious to me that Steven Crowder has massive control issues. And I say that not just because of this video, but also because of this video that was released with Dave Landau talking about the contract. And so I think that Steven Crowder's control issues probably ended up getting the better of him in this specific circumstance. Now, that doesn't mean that this type of scenario was an exception to an otherwise kind of normal marriage, okay? Steven Crowder can have control issues, and Steven Crowder can also still not be a 100%, you know, awful, awful, awful husband. Like, you can be a good husband and have control issues. A lot of people do. But I do think that what I saw in this video was not only emotionally abusive, even if it was only for a very short period of time, and it was the exception, and he never usually does stuff like this. It was still emotionally abusive, and it still exhibited a very strong tendency towards control that I think is a little extreme, and that makes me nervous. And at the same time, there can be other perspectives that we don't know what happened before this, and we don't know what happened after this. So I know I just didn't make any side happy with what I just said, because both sides are looking for me to either completely denounce Steven or completely denounce Candace Owens for her sticking her nose in this and drumming up trouble where she's not fucking where she doesn't fucking belong. Like, I know both people, like I'm not going to be pleasing anyone because we don't know. All we have is the information right in front of us. And this is all we can judge on. And the scenario, and I promise I'm going to shut up in a minute and we're going to watch the video and we're going to talk about it. But the scenario, like that it is a perfectly plausible scenario that there are no heroes in this circumstance, that both Steven Crowder fucked up really badly and is a horrible person, and that Candace Owens fucked up really badly and isn't a horrible person. Both those things can be true, okay? I'm not giving any blood here tonight. My regular viewers will tell you that even if I don't personally like someone, if I think that they're right, then I will say that they're right. If I think that they're wrong, then I will say that they're wrong. My personal feelings does not dictate how I judge situations. All right? I think that's enough of a preamble. Guys, please mount that like button, not because you like the content that we're talking about tonight, but because when you mount that like button, you tell YouTube to serve this video to more people so that more friends can come and join us and we can have a nice nuanced discussion and chill time about what's going on. Thank you guys for spending some time with me tonight. Let's watch this here video. Oh, wait. We got hang on, King Peter of the chat coming in with a super chat. Thank you, Peter. I heard this is from June 2021. Yes, that is true. That would have been when Steven's lung was collapsed and he would have surgery the next month. Listen to him mention medicine and days planned to the second. Yeah, so this is a really good point, Peter, because this video is from June 2021, and I'll trust your timing on that. I don't know. Some Steven Crowder fans will be able to tell us if that was the time when Steven's lung was collapsed and he was going to have surgery. And so he mentions medicine, and there might have been a reason that, maybe days need to be planned to the second. Okay, fine. Why doesn't Hillary Crowder have her own car? Let's talk about that after. Okay, let's watch the video.
I drew a boundary. I drew a boundary. No, you just did it. I drew a boundary of abusive and cruel. You were not taking the car. Because if you refuse to do wifely things, then I will go pick up the groceries.
There are no groceries. I would have to
Steaks, wood pellets, my grill. I know it's an unreasonable request, but I'll go do it. How about you first? Hillary, how do you respect the man? Yes, other than man, receive love and respect. No, other than man. No, you're not taking the car.
Steven,
You're not taking the car.
Steven,
You are not.
then I will ask them to pick me up. Would you like me to ask?
Oh, that's right.
It's not correct, Steven.
Get an Uber.
Okay, Steven, I can't.
Feeling some constraints?
Steven.
Like I can't
Steven.
go. Listen to me. Listen to me. You want to walk out right now? Listen to me. I can't go to the gym. I can't go to my parents. I can't call my friends. I can't go. I can't be home. You're gonna take the car and leave me here. Hillary, just think of how boxed in you've made me.
What do you need me to pick up? I'll get it. I'll be back when I'm back.
No, that doesn't work either. You'll be back when you're back. That doesn't work either.
See,
Do you understand the difference between my life being set to the second and you going, I'll be back when I'm back?
Steven.
And making it work. The only way out of it is discipline and respect. It's the only way out of it, or we're at an impasse.
We are at an impasse.
Good. Because you can't have any discipline or respect.
Steven.
Yeah. There you go. You throw your hand, you give up so easily.
I don't give up, Steven.
Hillary,
Steven.
you give up so easily. I just said the only way out of this is discipline and respect. You said, then we're at an impasse.
Steven, no, we are at an impasse, okay? I love you, but Steven, your abuse is sick. Your abuse
Watch it.
is sick.
Watch it. Fucking watch it.
I'm gonna let go. I'll get what you need me to get. And I need some space. We need to just stop engaging for a little bit. Okay? I love you. I love you very much.
I don't love you. That's the big problem. I've never received love from you. And the fact is, when I go, look, I need you to do A, B, C, and D, you just be disciplined about it. You go, no. But I love you more than life itself. Okay. Put on some gloves. No. But I love you more than life itself. That's not fair. That's not fair, and it's disingenuous. Hillary, You're right in that. Become someone, listen to me, day in and day out, worthy of a wife. No, not as a wife. I didn't say as a wife. Hillary, come on now.
I'm not going to engage. I'm not going to engage anymore. I'm going to go. I'll text me what you need. I'll get you what you need. I love you. I'm committed to you.
Are you committed enough to do those things?
I'm not going to.
Are you committed enough to do those things? You're not committed to anything. You're not committed to anything. You just said I love you. I'm committed to it. Walk the dogs, put on some gloves. Walk the dogs, put on some gloves. Are you committed enough to do those things? Are you committed enough to do those things? Are you committed enough to do those things?
I'm good.
Walk the dogs, put on some gloves. Are you committed enough to get the medication the dogs? Don't you take that?
Sin Shadowland points out people are cranky and nasty when they're sick. I think that there could be something to that, Sin, and I appreciate that. So that's a rather intense video. I wonder in the chat if people could let me know how they feel about watching that. And I'm still processing, honestly. Heather says, it sounds like he's afraid to be alone. I think that that's a really, that I actually hadn't thought about that, Heather. So that's actually a really great point. I think it is sad. I think it is sad. Yeah, I think this is not for public consumption. And I think it's really gross that this got released. And you know what? I even, like, as I was eating my dinner, I was like, do you even want to cover this? Do you even want to cover this? And I said, yes, I'll cover it because I think I'm going to give one of the most nuanced takes on this entire platform about it. And, someone needs to do it because everyone's going to be covering it. So mixed feelings for Yasmin. Shannon says that Steven's a fucking psycho. I don't know about that. I mean, maybe. I do think there are control issues there. I really do. There are some concerning things, but I think they're both scared. I think that could be a good interpretation. Emo Dante says that was upsetting to watch. It is very upsetting to watch. I agree with you, Emo Dante. Got a couple other super chats. Thank you, guys. Jen says the lack of a second car is super disturbing. Besides just the manipulative vocabulary, it comes off as he thinks he's trapped. Yeah, I mean, why doesn't she have a car? Because that's something that strikes me as very odd. Why doesn't Hillary Crowder have a car? Because it sounds like they're sharing one. There is absolutely no need. They live in Austin, Texas. You're telling me they only have one car? That doesn't make sense. There's like, why wouldn't she have her own? Why would it matter at all if she left? Why wouldn't she have her own car? And he kept saying, you're taking the car, the car, the car. Like, don't they have another one? Don't they have several? I mean, that to me, if she doesn't have a car of her own, that's something I would like an answer to, because like that seems like a massive control issue. Not that we are deserving of an answer because this is none of our effing business, but if I got to ask questions, that would be a question I would ask. Emphasize says, how many times has she threatened to leave him as a power play? I have no idea, Emphasize, and I wouldn't make the assumption that she's threatened to leave him at all. I think it's pretty obvious to me that she's scared in that video. That is a bizarre way to talk to your spouse. Well, I know I've had some more people join since then. Is that a really bad way to talk to your spouse? Absolutely. It's not good. However, as someone who's been married for 12 years, I know enough to know that if you took a 3-minute chunk of an argument that I've had with my husband and took it out of context, it could look like that. Both in stuff that he's said to me and in stuff that I've said to him. And you don't know what happened before the video. You don't know what happened after the video. And we just don't know. And so I think that's one of the things that really bothers me is I think, and I saw in the chat earlier, like a lot of married couples can understand what they're seeing here because we ourselves have also done it. So I don't think that that's good. Let's read a little bit because I know there's a statement from the family. We're not going to read this whole thing. You guys can read it on Yasser's Substack if you want. Let's see. They're talking about when Steven made the video the other day. And oh, hang on, I'll get the other super chats in a sec, guys. One sec. They're talking about when Steven made the video the other day and basically threw his wife kind of under the bus and made this big deal about the fact that she really wanted to divorce him and he quite frankly didn't seem to think that that should be allowed. And like I said, that was weird to me at the time, but I wasn't sure how to interpret it, so I just didn't want to comment on it because it wasn't the main crux of the point I had anyway. And so they're talking about that, and that's where we're going to start. Let me just take these two super chats. Sin says, before Hillary could get pregnant, she got Jillian Barr. He got her a Tesla so she could drive. She has some physical issues. Then what's going on with the car? Because it kind of seemed like they only had one car. Maybe I misunderstood what we heard. I don't know. There could be individual cars, one for the house, and hers is just broken down at the time. More info is needed. Well, yeah, I think that that's probably the case. Because if Steven Crowder really didn't get his wife car, that to me says control issue. It screams control issue. Let's read. Crowder bemoaned Texas no-fault divorce law several times in his statement. No-fault divorce laws allow either party in a marriage to get divorced without requiring a cause or abuse or infidelity. It wasn't the first time Crowder had talked about his disgust for such laws. What Crowder didn't mention was that his very private wife, who hardly appears at public events and is rarely photographed, had made a request via her attorney that her husband not discuss their divorce at all. Steven Crowder dismissed the request and spoke about their divorce and their marriage for about 5 minutes in a clip that went viral. So, this also is a control issue, by the way. If Steven Crowder was asked very nicely by his wife's lawyers to not talk about the divorce at all, and Steven Crowder ignored that and decided to make that video the other day, that is also a control issue on the part of Steven Crowder. Let me explain. Steven Crowder obviously has issues with the fact that his wife is divorcing him. Okay? So he obviously has these issues. And guess what? He might feel very out of control because he has no control over the fact that his wife is divorcing him. So because Steven Crowder feels like he's been taken out of control by his wife, he then has to come in and reassert control in the situation. By the way, this is a very narcissist thing to do. I'm not suggesting that Steven Crowder is a narcissist, but everyone has narcissistic tendencies and they can be known to come out at times, especially if you're under stress, things like that. And so it is a very narcissistic thing to, if you get taken out of control, to reassert yourself to establish control in the relationship. When Steven Crowder decided to throw his wife's request that he not talk about the divorce out the window and talk about it anyway, that was a way of Steven Crowder reasserting himself and saying, you don't control what I say. That was a control issue. The fact that he made that viral video in spite of all of this, and probably knowing, quite frankly, that it's a really bad effing idea, that was him exerting control so that he could gain some sense of ownership over the situation. Does that make sense to people? A New Wrinkle on the Brain podcast says Crowder seems like she was on punishment. That's a really good way to put it, A New Wrinkle on the Brain. She was like on punishment. The discipline comment rubs me the wrong way. Maybe Hillary had something else going on, thus he wanted to go and her stay home. Why was she in such a rush? I completely agree with you. That was, and he kept saying discipline, discipline, discipline. And she's like, Steven, I'm going to the store. Like, she needs to have the discipline to not go grocery shopping. Like, I don't understand. It doesn't make sense. What discipline? What discipline does it take? And Steven just seemed to be sitting around on the patio. It's not like he was engaging in work or anything. What discipline? I mean, that's weird. I totally agree with you. All right. Oh, hey, Lisa. Good to see you. I was just thinking about you the other day. Lisa, I'm coming to Chicago in a couple months, and I got to give you a call. I need your help with something. Oh no. Oh no. I'm sorry to hear that, Lisa. Oh gosh. Okay, we're gonna get back to this now. Lisa and I are gonna catch up later. So, in a statement to me via email, Hillary Crowder's family said, Hillary is currently living alone in Dallas, apart from her family and support system in Michigan, and is focused on taking care of her young children. She is not prepared at this time to speak about her divorce becoming public or the misleading statements made by Stephen about their relationship. Let's continue that in a second, but I want to take this super chat from Bree. The meds were for the dog, and many of those meds are dangerous for pregnant women. So is that why Stephen was saying, put on the gloves, put on the gloves, put on the gloves? Because he didn't want her to get the medicine from the dog on. Okay, that kind of makes sense. I could buy that. The truth is, oh gosh, you guys are being so generous with the super chats tonight. And I like to make sure I take them at the moment they come up because there's usually context. Nick says, as a father, this happened to my daughters. I'd be furious and I'd go scorched earth on her husband. As a husband, I've unfortunately had these fights with my wife. Yeah, and I think like most married couples, if not every married couple in the history of married couples, have had those fights. So no one should feel, I don't carry any guilt is what I'm saying. It happens. That's what happens in relationships. Jen, I suspect one can or a couple can grieve a divorce. Yes, I think that I mean, they've been together a long time. They have kids together. Of course you're going to grieve the falling apart of a relationship. I mean, I think like pretty much all of us have grieved relationships at some point, right? Like you lose a loved one, or you lose, like, you have a falling out with a loved one, or you have a really bad breakup. Like, you're going to grieve that relationship. And so, of course, they would be. I think both of them probably would be, right? Let's see. The truth is that Hillary spent years hiding Stephen's mentally and emotionally abusive behavior from her friends and family while she attempted to save their marriage. She was the one who was asking to work on their relationship to keep the marriage intact for their unborn children. In June of 2021, Stephen left their house to pursue elective surgery. Hillary urged him to get the help he needed to address his abuse with the hopes that their marriage could be saved and they could peacefully live together as a family. Does anyone know what surgery Stephen Crowder got that was elective surgery in June of 2021? Instead, Stephen refused to do so and chose not to be with his wife during the birth of their twin children. Really? He wasn't there when they were born? Wasn't that like a big deal for her to get pregnant? Well, okay, so people are saying it wasn't elective. Okay, so it sounds like there's a dispute there. What was the actual surgery and was it elective? Oh, this is the chest thing? That doesn't sound elective to me. Why would they say that was why would they release a statement saying that was elective when I think it's pretty obvious to everyone that that wasn't elective, and they would know, Hillary Crowder and her lawyers would know that there is no way in this universe that the general public was going to buy that it was elective. That's a lie. That's a flat and that based on its own, it makes, and again, I don't like the video, but that on its own makes me question the entire rest of this statement, because if they're calling Crowder's lung surgery because his lungs were collapsing, if they're calling that elective surgery, that makes me question everything else. Unless Crowder isn't telling the truth about that and what happened, which let's just keep that on I'm just keeping it on the shelf. I'm not suggesting that I believe that just yet. I'm just saying, what if Crowder wasn't telling the truth? It's possible. People lie on the internet all the time. I don't know that I believe that. Just putting it out there, putting it on the shelf. We're going to consider that later. Torchwood Gal, as a domestic violence survivor, this was difficult to watch. I can imagine it would be, and I'm sorry you had to go through that. A New Wrinkle on the Brain podcast, chest expansion. He had a sunken chest. He claimed it was affecting his heart. That doesn't seem elective to me. I mean, like, I don't know. I guess maybe we'll get more information about that at some point. Let's see. Instead, Stephen refused to do so and chose not to be with his wife during the birth of their twin children. After the birth, Stephen bought a townhouse and left their home permanently. Hillary was unaware that Stephen had hired a divorce attorney and asked his assistant to cut Hillary off financially. There is significant documentation substantiating these facts. Wow. We hope that Stephen will cease speaking publicly about these personal matters in an untruthful manner. We also look forward to there being full transparency in the legal process so there is fairness and accountability for the actions that caused the divorce and to ensure the outcome is what's in the best interest of the young children. That's pretty low. If Stephen did that, and listen, if he missed the birth of his kids, if he immediately left and bought a townhouse and then secretly hired a divorce lawyer and then completely cut her off financially right after she had had twins, that seems a little low to me. It does. But there's also that line about it being elective surgery, which makes me question the veracity of this entire statement. So I don't know what to think. I really don't. I don't know what to think about this. What I want to do next, as we continue to consider this, is I want to watch a short clip from this interview that Michael Malice did with Dave Landau, where he talks about a specific part in the contract that he had with Steven Crowder that I think is just worthy of consideration. We're only going to watch a short little bit of it. We're not going to watch the whole thing. Many of you have probably already seen this. Guys, I would please, as we're watching this, please mount the like button for me. Do not smash the like button. We're not hooligans. We mount the like button like adults on my channel. You can caress the like button. You can do whatever you want to the like button. It really doesn't matter to me. You know, you're in the privacy of your own home probably. But the reason that I ask people to mount that like button is because it's going to tell YouTube that you are enjoying the stream and that you'll hopefully bring more people in to watch the stream so we can join us and all be friends and all have a chill night. But YouTube will serve the video up more the more likes it has. We got a huge discrepancy between the amount of people watching right now and the amount of likes it has. So I'd just appreciate, yeah, Jeff pounded it. Excellent. Got to be forceful sometimes with the like button. Jack politely mounted it. So, you know, do whatever you got to do. I'm not one to judge. Let's listen to this part of the video.
Company will enforce a strict 5-minute tardy policy.
Okay, that whole thing. Hold on a second. Let me. I'm going to forward this right now before I forget. With is this the thing with the yellow?
No, the yellow was the last one. This one is just the first page of the independent contractor.
With everything and all the things handwritten, you want me to include that as well?
Yes, this was what was eventually sent to me.
Okay, I'm going to send it right now to my producer, so he'll put it up on the screen.
And this eventually showed up on October 2022 after I refused to sign anything starting when I returned in August, because I just wouldn't sign anything and I just kept showing up to work like Costanza.
And they kept paying you.
Yeah, they kept paying me forever.
Okay,
and I took the money because
sure.
I earned it.
Right, but I'm just saying it wasn't like, what are you doing here? They did keep paying you.
Yes.
Okay, so what I'm looking at right here, and we're gonna have it on the screen. Oh, you're a third chair personality. You weren't the second chair.
No, I was third chair.
Okay. But the thing the thing that I'm seeing is company will enforce a strict 5-minute tardy policy. Contractor agrees that if he arrives to work more than 5 minutes late, he's in breach of Section 1, must leave company premises, and will not be compensated for the day the breach occurred. Contractor's breach of Section. and you can't seek reimbursement for the days the breach occurred. So I don't think they even have this at McDonald's, to be honest. Like if you're 5 minutes late, like pack your crap and go home. How would that even be addressed on the air? Like, where's Dave? Oh, Dave was 5 minutes.
So, for those who don't know me, hi. I'm an organizational psychologist in real life when I'm not doing YouTube and, trying to behave like a professional. What that means is that I've worked with a lot of organizations on a lot of contracts. And I've had, I have a lot. When I'm doing my work, what I do is I consult with CEOs and senior leaders in organizations to basically say, here is how you create nice environments for your employees to work in. Having a clause in a contract that says if you are more for a job like what Dave Landau had, we're not talking about an hourly job here, okay? It's far more responsibility than that. No offense to people who have hourly jobs. I'm not, no shade or anything, but there are different types of jobs and it just is what it is. To have a 5-minute clause like that in a contract is almost unheard of. It's so bad. It's almost unheard of. If you don't trust someone to show up on time consistently, then you don't hire them in the first place. If you are going to punish someone like they swore in their 7th grade classroom in middle school and you need to teach them a lesson for the rest of the day, then you're hiring children and you shouldn't hire them in the first place. But putting a clause like that in a contract, to me, is one of the clearest indications that I have that it is a massive control issue. You should not be hiring people that you need to put a 5-minute clause in a contract for. Those aren't the types of things you put in contracts. And that, to me, offers one of the most keen pieces of insight that we have into this entire situation. Because I quite frankly don't care what listen, if you have a clause like that in a contract that you have with your employer does not trust you, and your employer is probably controlling you in a million other different ways that they quite frankly have no right to control you in. So it doesn't matter to me if Crowder promoted him all the time. It doesn't matter to me if they were BFFs. It doesn't matter to me if they hung out every day after work and had beers. This is not about the nature of their relationship. It's not even about Dave Landau at all. I don't know who he is. I never watched Crowder's show. What this is about is knowing that if you have a clause like that in a contract, you are a control freak. That's just the way it goes. And we saw the same thing in Yasser Ali's video about Steven Crowder, that it was a control freak video. Like, he was obviously, he was demanding his wife do what he wanted her to do, put on the gloves, no, you're not going anywhere, do your wifely duties, how dare you, be disciplined. Everything I saw about that video and how Steven Crowder was obviously reacting under stress, and I am acknowledging that it was probably under stress of something. Everything that I saw in that video says to me, control issues. And then you think about the follow-up to that, which is that when Steven Crowder's wife decides to divorce him, and Steven Crowder has a big issue with no-fault divorce and doesn't like that his wife is doing this and wants to prevent his wife from doing this, but Steven Crowder's wife puts her foot down. She says, no, Steven, we're getting a divorce. Even though this statement basically says that Steven was the one that filed for divorce. So now, I want to know who filed for divorce. Was it Hillary Crowder or was it Steven Crowder? And again, this is really none of our business, but since we're talking about it anyway, I want to know who actually filed for divorce. Because if it was Hillary Crowder, then we can summarily dismiss everything that Steven Crowder said in his video, and that does not clear Candace Owens. We're going to talk about her in a second. But if Hillary Crowder was not the one who filed for divorce, and it was actually Steven Crowder who filed for divorce, as this statement says, then we can summarily dismiss every single thing that Steven said in his video the other day, because the entire premise of that was that Hillary was leaving him. He didn't like it. He didn't have a choice. He wanted to work out the marriage. But if he's the one that left and he's the one that filed for divorce, then he was full of shit. So who filed for divorce? But if Hillary did file for divorce, then this statement is bullshit because it's blatantly saying that Steven did it when in fact it was her. Like, someone is lying. And I think we would get can someone find the divorce proceedings or something? Can someone go onto Texas's court system right now and find the divorce proceedings and tell us who actually filed for divorce? Because the answer to that question will tell you who is telling the truth. If Hillary filed for divorce, then Steven is telling the truth. If Steven filed for divorce, then Hillary is telling the truth. Because both are blaming the other, and it's pretty clear that there is one clear instigator, and we don't know who that is. Jen says, the tardy policy sounds like a parody out of the opening of a Back to the Future with Principal Strickland coming after Marty McFly. It really does. It sounds that high school. Hang on, I know I got another super chat. Thank you, Bree. And she didn't feel comfortable with handling the meds, even with the gloves. Why didn't Steven just take care of the dog's meds? Oh, so that's what it was. So she didn't want to put on the gloves because she didn't want to handle the medication at all. And Steven was like, no, just put on the gloves. You'll be fine, because he didn't want to do it. It kind of seems like they're both going like this. Like what happens when your marriage is falling apart over other things? Let's see. Do I have any more super chats? Not right now. All right. This is just recapping the video. This is so there's no more new information in Yasser Ali's article. So that's my position on this right now. Is whoever filed for divorce will give us the answer of who we should trust and who we should not trust. If Steven Crowder filed for divorce, then I trust his wife. If Hillary Crowder filed for divorce, then I trust Steven Crowder. But one of them is lying because they're both saying contradictory things. You know? So let's see who's telling the truth. I want to know who filed for divorce. But Candace, did anyone watch this? Can anyone? I haven't seen the whole thing, but I'm curious if there's anyone in the chat who has watched this yet. Oh. The docket says the petitioner is Hillary Crowder. And isn't that funny? And this will take a minute to load because the website's just taking a minute to load tonight. I don't know why. The docket says the petitioner is Hillary Crowder. But in Hillary Crowder's statement, coming through her lawyer, she says, after the birth, Steven bought a townhouse and left their home permanently. Hillary was unaware that Steven had hired a divorce attorney and asked his assistant to cut Hillary off financially. If Hillary Crowder filed for divorce, then Hillary Crowder is lying. And she's not only lying there, but they're also lying when they're trying to say that the surgery that Steven had in June of 2021 was elective. They're trying to make it sound like Steven went in and got a nose job or like a boob job. Not that he would ever do that, but you know what I'm saying? They're trying to make the surgery sound frivolous, but the surgery was not frivolous. The surgery was for a collapsed lung. Like, maybe he could have lived with it, I guess. He wasn't having like a heart he wasn't having like a heart attack or anything, I guess. But to say that a collapsed lung, like the surgery to fix that, is elective on something that's impacting his heart, to say that's elective, I don't buy it. I don't buy it at all. Why would you and to say that knowing that the entire internet is going to know that it was not elective surgery because he documented the whole damn thing. Hillary Crowder's lying. I'm calling it now. I suspect she's lying for money. I think that this is not a good video. Not a good video by any stretch of the imagination. I don't like the way Steven behaved. However, I've also been married long enough to know what a 3-minute fight out of a much bigger picture looks like when people are being mean and vindictive and are sick and cranky. And I think almost every other married couple in the world understands exactly what I'm talking about when I say this. I think this was clipped out of context to make it look as bad as it could possibly look. I think they had it at the ready just in case Steven said something. By the way, Steven still shouldn't have said anything because the reason that Steven Crowder said something was entirely about control issues. It was about him reclaiming control in a situation that he felt he had been taken out of control. He still shouldn't have done it. It was a really fucking stupid thing to do. He should have listened to Mike Cernovich when Mike Cernovich says, free life advice: if you're on Ring video being not very nice to your estranged wife, listen to her lawyers when they say they want this all kept private for your kids' sake, and do not do a massively viral video blaming her for divorcing you. Steven Crowder absolutely should have followed that advice. It was stupid of him to do what he did. However, to take revenge on him because Hillary wanted Steven to keep quiet, she then had her lawyers release a statement that is blatantly false just on the face of it. When you just look at the facts and look at the timeline and look at who's saying what, guys. Again, I'm not on Steven Crowder's side. I'm looking at facts. She released a statement that had 2 provable falsehoods that we proved false within minutes of reading the statement. Because they're in a divorce. It's obviously bitter, right? But if Hillary filed for divorce, if that is real, then Hillary is lying in that statement. Provable. Not even in dispute. Planet Fatness says this smells like a smear campaign. Well, again, and I'm going to say this again, I think it's highly suspicious that this video and this statement were released seemingly to 2 people. Yasser Ali, who is an avowed leftist, who hates Steven Crowder, and Candace Owens, who also hates Steven Crowder and was in a public feud with Steven Crowder. Why are these the 2 people who are talking about this most right now? Candace Owens inserted herself the other day when she said, Hillary, come on my show. I almost wonder, was Hillary Crowder already in touch with Candace Owens when Candace Owens made that clip the other day? Did she already know? Did Candace already know that this was going to come out? She already knew, and she preemptively made that video knowing that this was going to come out because she was ready to pounce when it did. The fact that Yasser Ali and the Daily Wire people have this, and it's a 3-minute clip taken out of context, and Hillary Crowder is provably lying in the statement that was released just on the face of it, this is a smear campaign. I'm sorry. This is revenge. This is revenge. This is the Daily Wire's revenge against Steven Crowder for what Steven Crowder did to the Daily Wire. See, people thought I was going to hate on Crowder all night, and I started as neutral. I really did. Started as neutral, but I know what smear campaigns look like. I have been on the receiving end of multiple smear campaigns run by conservatives. I know what they look like. Jeff says, loving your take on all of this 100%. Thank you, Jeff. I really do appreciate that. Guys, if you're liking my take, please mount that like button for me and let other people know to come join us. We still got a ways to go. We're going to still watch Candace. A new Wrinkle on the Brain podcast. 7:59 minutes into Candace's video, Crowder says what the surgery was for. It was for chest expansion. All right, we're going to watch it. Don't worry, we're going to watch the whole thing. So not elective. Not elective. Let's see. Yeah, and the divorce papers were filed in 2021. There's no way the Daily Wire didn't know about this. There's no way they didn't know. I always said that. Candace was full of shit. All right, guys, let's now turn to Candace. And let's see what Candace has to say. Lord help us. Everyone say a prayer right now. If you pray, please pray for all of us.
Breaking news that just happened. And before we get to it, I just want to back up and tell you why we are discussing this breaking news, because it's
Because you're a
there are some
bitch.
people out there who believe that to be a conservative, what it means is that we become tribal and we defend other conservatives even when they do things that are wrong, that we don't discuss things that are horrible on our own side because we need to just make sure that we score wins in other ways. And that is wrong. So that to me is the exact opposite.
Hang on, Bot, can you confirm for me that Hillary Crowder filed the divorce? Because I trust you. No offense to everyone else saying Hillary filed it, but Bot is the cult's chief investigative officer, and if Bot says something, then I believe it, because she's always is correct. Logan says hiring a divorce attorney isn't the same thing as filing. Well, no, it's not the same thing as filing, which is why I explicitly asked who filed the divorce. Yes, it was Hillary. I can't look at my DMs right this second, but like, so yeah, it was Hillary. Yes, Hillary was the petitioner. So yes, you're correct. Hiring a divorce attorney doesn't mean you file. Hillary filed, Stephen didn't.
Of why I have this platform. I am not tribal. I want to expose things when they are bad on the left, and I will also expose things when they are bad on the right. Obviously, I have been interested in the Steven Crowder.
Candace is already like, I am but a professional, unbiased journalist, and I am just being a journalist, and I don't know why anyone would say I have bias at all, because I expose everyone. I am a purely professional journalist with no personal interest in this situation at all. I'm just being a journalist, all right? Is that fair enough about what Candace is saying?
Saga pertaining to his divorce, because he literally inserted me into his divorce a couple of days ago. And his wife and family are now speaking out regarding that video in which he told people publicly that his wife was leaving him. You remember this. He chose wrong. And he essentially made it sound as if he did not want his marriage to end, but his wife simply wanted to leave. Well, she has responded by giving video, and I want to prep you. I want you to know this is horrific video. It is very difficult to watch. It's especially difficult to watch because in this footage, she is 8 months pregnant. And the video essentially reveals just how emotionally abusive he has been. And she is alleging that he has been emotionally abusive to her. And this video all but confirms it. So let's first get to the footage. I'm just going.
Hang on. King Peter in the chat says, sorry, this is now making Stephen look more correct when it comes to the Daily Wire deal. I agree. Now understanding the pieces and putting the full timeline together, I agree. I didn't start this stream on Stephen's side, but I'm on Stephen's side now.
Going to allow you to watch it in its entirety.
I drew a boundary. I drew a boundary. No, you just did it. I drew a boundary in abusive and cruel.
Hang on.
You were not taking.
So I just want to know, we'll watch it again. I think it's worth watching it again just to, maybe get a second sense of it. Who knows? I just want to make mention though. Candace said, we'll allow you to watch the video in its entirety. This is not the entire video. I want to make sure everyone's real clear on this. Just because Candace Owens says, we'll allow you to watch the video in its entirety, this is not the entire video. We don't know what happened leading up to this. We don't know what happened after this. We have no idea. This is a 3-minute video that is cut out of what is obviously a much bigger context. And so for Candace to say that we are going to allow you to watch the video in its entirety, she wants you to think that this is the only information that matters, but this is not the only information that matters. And yes, Candace is a massive narcissist, so she is very controlling as well. Candace Owens wants to control all of this. It would not surprise me, and this is pure speculation, this is an opinion, it would not surprise me if Candace Owens orchestrated this entire thing as revenge against Steven Crowder. It wouldn't surprise me at all if we got information in the future. Right now, it's just speculation. I'm just, hypothesizing about something that could happen. I'm not saying she did do it, but it wouldn't surprise me if she did. Would it surprise anyone if she did? Really? Christy L says, I'm on Steven's side. Candace is a liar. Change my mind. I don't need to change your mind, Christy. I'm with you. I'm with you.
Taking the car. Because if you
Ain't that the
refuse
truth,
to do
Mayor
rightful
Kate?
things,
Ain't that
then
the
I will
truth?
go pick up the groceries.
There's no groceries. I would have to.
Steaks, wood pellets, my grill. I know it's an unreasonable request, but I'll go do it. How about you first? Hillary, how do you respect the man? Yes, how do you man? How do you man? Receive love and respect. No. How do you man? No, you're not taking the car.
Stephen,
You're not taking the car.
Stephen,
You are not.
then I
taking
will ask them to pick me up. Would you like me to ask?
the car. Right?
It's not about Stephen.
Get an Uber.
Okay, Stephen, I can't.
Feeling some constraints?
Stephen.
Like I can't
Steven.
go. Listen to me. You want to walk out right now? Listen to me. I can't go to the gym. I can't go to my parents. I can't call my friends. I can't be home. You're gonna take the car and leave me here. Hillary, just think of how boxed in you've made me.
What do you need me to pick up? I'll get it. I'll be back when I'm back.
No, that doesn't work either. You'll be back when you're back. That doesn't work either.
See,
Do you understand the difference between my life being set to the second and you going, I'll be back when I'm back?
Stephen,
And making it work. The only way out of it is discipline and respect. It's the only way out of it, or we're at an impact.
we are at an impasse.
Good. Because you can't have any discipline or respect.
Stephen,
Yeah. There you go. You throw your hand, you give up so easily.
I don't give up, Stephen.
Hillary,
Stephen,
you give up so easily.
I'm
I just said the only way out of this is discipline and respect. You said, then we're at an impasse.
Stephen, no, we are at an impasse, okay? I love you, but Stephen, your beast is sick. Your beast
Watch it.
is sick.
Watch it. Watch it.
I'm gonna let go. I'll get what you need me to get. And I need some space. We need to just stop engaging for a little bit, okay? I love you. I love you very much.
I don't love you. That's the big problem. I've never received love from you. And the fact is, when I go, look, I need you to do A, B, C, and D, you just be disciplined about it. You go, no. But I love you more than life itself. Okay. Put on some gloves. No. But I love you more than life itself. That's not fair. That's not fair, and it's disingenuous. Hillary, you're right. We're at an impasse. Become someone, let's see me, day in and day out, worthy of a wife, worthy.
The way that Steven is lecturing her really bothers me because he's not talking to her in this video. And again, I'm come down on the side of like, I think this is a smear campaign. I think Hillary's lying, or at least very much twisting the truth so that it doesn't bear resemblance to what actually happened. Maybe there's nuggets of truth sprinkled in, but there's a lot of stuff on top of it, and it's impossible to know what's real and what's being twisted out of context. However, the way that Steven is speaking to her and lecturing her really, really bothers me. And it's not normal. It's not normal. Like, fighting every once in a while between a husband and a wife is normal, okay? That type of condescension and you need to be disciplined, and that's not normal. It's not. So again, it's one of those things where I'm sure there's two sides to this. And I'm not going to suggest that just because I think the Daily Wire is running a smear campaign on Steven Crowder, I think it can be true that the Daily Wire is running a smear campaign on Steven Crowder. And it can also be true that Steven Crowder is not a perfect person. Okay? Both of those things can be true at once. Like I've said, it is likely that there are quite literally no heroes in this context. It's quite likely that Steven Crowder is not a hero. It's quite likely that Steven Crowder's wife is not a hero. It's quite likely that Candace Owens is definitely not a hero. It's quite likely that the Daily Wire is not a hero. And all of these things can be true at once, okay? No one is perfect in this situation. No one is perfect in life in general. Jamie, thank you for the super chat. Who's the man she is seeing so much is missing? I don't know anything about that, Jamie, and I'm not going to speculate because I have no idea about that. I don't know if that's true, but if they've been separated for a while, she's allowed to have a relationship. She's allowed. Anyway, let's continue.
No, not as a wife. I didn't say as a wife.
As a wife.
Hillary, come on now.
I'm not gonna engage. I'm not gonna engage anymore. I'm gonna go. I'll get text.
Hang on, I have another super chat. Sorry to pause, but I do want to take Heather's super chat because I appreciate it. It is also possible she set him up with an argument they already had and pushed all the buttons, knowing he would act the way he does on the video. That is also possible. But if that's possible, it's also possible that he has acted this way many times before, which is how she knew he would react this way, which isn't good either. You know? This is why it's a sad thing, guys. There's probably a lot coming from both sides. Emphasize says they both say the same things. No, they don't emphasize. We are at an impact. Well, they do say that. You're right about that. Get an Uber to pick up complimentary contradiction. So confusing. Because, well, emphasize. It's confusing because we're seeing a 3-minute clip out of what may have been a several hours long conversation. We don't know what happened before this. We don't know what happened after this. We are seeing a 3-minute clip out of what is obviously an extended conversation. So more was said by both of them. We just don't know what it is because Hillary Crowder's lawyers wanted us to see this 3-minute clip. They gave us exactly the parts of the clip that they wanted us to see. And those parts are inherently going to be advantageous to Hillary Crowder because they came from her and they came from her lawyer.
I'll get you to you. I love you. I'm committed to you.
Are you committed enough to do those things?
I'm not gonna.
Are you committed enough to do those things? You're not committed to anything. You're not committed to anything. You just said I love you. I'm committed to it. Walk the dogs. Put on some gloves. Walk the dogs. Put on some gloves. Are you committed enough to do those things? Are you committed enough to do those things? Are you committed enough to do those things?
I'm good.
Walk the dogs. Put on some gloves. Are you committed enough to get the medication the dogs? No, you take that in.
All right, before we get back to Candace and look at her, she's Candace right there is holding in how much glee she has at this. She's like ready to go. She's like, it's like when you're stifling a laugh sort of thing. Heather, thank you for the super chat. She is 8 months pregnant, and that may play a part in not wanting her to drive and instead take an Uber. Maybe. We don't know. She seemed to be moving around just fine. People drive when they're 8 months pregnant. I don't know. All right, let's see what Candace had to say.
So that is both heartbreaking and infuriating for me to watch.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. We're going to watch this again. I want you guys to watch Candace's eyes very closely. When Candace said that was heartbreaking to watch, there was the glimmer in her eye. I'm not joking. I'm not making this up. We're going to watch it again. There was it was almost like just the briefest of moments. Let me know if anyone else sees this. There was the briefest of moments where it was like she just saw something that she really wanted to buy in the store. Did anyone see that? Let's watch again. Can I slow-mo it? Well, let's watch again. Maybe we can slow-mo it in a second. Watch Candace's eyes.
So that is both heartbreaking and infuriating for me to watch.
There it is. Do you see? It was like, did anyone watch like America's Next Top Model? I'm really dating myself. It was like when Tyra Banks was teaching them to smile with their eyes. That's what happened to Candace's eye. It was like It was like what you do when you're like looking at someone like sexy. I'm not gonna do that on camera. I'm absolutely not gonna do that on camera. That's not gonna happen. But like that was what it was like. I'm gonna do it one more time. Yes, and she smiled. And she smiled. I'm gonna do it one more time and then we'll slow it down if I can figure out how to do that. I'm a boomer. That is what it is. One more time. Watch her eye.
So that is both heartbreaking and
There it
infuriating
is.
for me to watch.
I'm slowing it down. Playback speed. Did you guys see it? Okay. We're slowing it down real good now.
So that is both heartbreaking and
That. It's right at that moment where she's like,
infuriating.
there it is. There it is. There it is. Do you guys see? Watch. One more time. I know I'm doing this a lot, but I really want to make sure people see this.
And infuriating for me to watch.
And her eyebrow went up just slightly. It was like, all right, I think I've beaten that dead horse. But that was a fucking smize. It was a smize. It was. Am I wrong? Do you guys see what I just showed you? Yes. The eyebrow, the brow went up a little bit. Yeah, you guys got it. You got it. You got it. You got it. This is how we know you're a narcissist, Candace.
I cannot even comprehend how any man can speak to a woman like that, least of all when she is 8 months pregnant. And sadly, that isn't the worst part of that correspondence. The journalist that dropped this video is Yashar Ali. He dropped this as well
Leftist.
as a Substack, a
Leftist.
Substack entry accompanying it. On the
Candace is not noting, of course, that Yasser Ali is an avowed leftist because Candace doesn't want you to have the information that Yasser Ali is an avowed leftist.
Substack article, he wrote, moments later, off camera, Steven Crowder, by his own admission, would lose control and scream at his pregnant wife in a threatening tone, quote, "I will f you up," end quote, which led his wife to flee their home.
Did they release
She
it?
then
A new wrinkle on the brain. Did they release the video, or are you just seeing somewhere that they're saying they have more video? Professor Tem says Candace probably speaks to her husband like that a lot. Yeah, I'm gonna guess that Candace does far worse things to her husband. I could be wrong. Just gossip. Just an opinion.
sent a statement, which I want to be very clear. This statement I knew was going to come out. I didn't know any of.
Oh! Do you know how but moments ago I said, I wouldn't be surprised if Candace orchestrated this whole thing and knew that this entire thing was happening. And what did Candace just say? We'll rewind it and listen again. Candace literally just said, I knew this statement was going to come out. Candace orchestrated this entire thing, is my opinion. Jamie Honeybunny, the surgery was 4 days after that fight. Well, that makes sense because she was 8 months pregnant and he had to have surgery and he was probably in recovery. So they knew he was having the surgery. Let's listen to Candace say that she knew this statement was going to be coming out. How did if Hillary Crowder and Hillary Crowder's lawyers just went right to avowed leftist journalist Yasser Ali, then how did Candace know that this statement was going to come out? I should have been a lawyer. I almost went to school. I wanted to go like back in the day. I made a deal with one of my friends that we were both going to go, and it was like our first week freshman year in college at Boston University, and we said we're going to go to law school. We're going to go to Harvard Law together right after it. And that obviously didn't happen because I went and did other things, and he did too. He actually works for the State Department today. Fun fact. And is a leftist as well. Okay, let's listen to Candace say that she knew this was coming out.
end quote, which led his wife to flee their home. She then sent a statement, which I want to be very clear. This statement I knew was going to come out. I didn't know any of this information. I had no idea there was a video or there was any evidence.
So Candace knew a statement was going to come out, but she didn't know what was in it. I swear. All I heard was that there was a piece of paper going around. It doesn't matter that it came from an avowed leftist journalist. I had no idea the content. Bullshit, Candace. Bullshit. Bullshit.
I did know that their family was thinking about issuing a statement, and Hillary Crowder did issue a statement. And I'm going to read you that statement in its entirety because it's important. I think it reveals a lot of the lies that Stephen has been telling publicly to his audiences. It reads, Hillary is currently living.
So unlike us, Candace and the entire team at the Daily Wire were not capable of the most basic of fact checks, because me and my chat fact checked this entire statement within like 10 minutes. Like, bot single-handedly fact checked this statement. Other people had opinions too. Okay, we'll say it was a group effort. But we single-handedly fact-checked this statement, and before ever hearing from Candace or anyone else, we all assessed on our own, based on publicly available information, that there were at least 2 lies told in this statement. It just seems to me that Candace might be taking the entire statement at face value because it helps the narrative that she's trying to sell you guys, and didn't even bother to fact-check. Freedom 2020 says this is retaliation from the Daily Wire. This is retaliation from the Daily Wire, is my opinion.
Living alone in Dallas, apart from her family and support system in Michigan, and is focused on taking care of her young children. She is not prepared at this time to speak about her divorce becoming public or the misleading statements made by Stephen about their relationship. The truth is that Hillary spent years.
Hang on. Rachel says, Carlin, you have to understand one thing. Your chat is just much more effective than the Daily Wire staff. Don't I know it? Don't I know it? Guys, please mount that like button for the chat. For the chat that fact check. This is why I have rules of the chat. We want to keep things nice. No shit postings. We do actual work. We do actual fact checking. And we did, guys, tonight, please give yourself a round of applause. We did more journalism tonight than Candace Owens and the Daily Wire put together. Congratulations.
Years hiding Stephen's mentally and emotionally abusive behavior from her friends and family while she attempted to save their marriage. She was the one who was asking to work on their relationship to keep the marriage intact for their unborn child. In June of 2021, Stephen left their home to pursue elective surgery. It's very important. I want you to remember that. I'm going to
wait, did you hear Candace's voice? Stephen Crowder left the home to pursue elective surgery. So that's one lie that we identified in the statement earlier, because that was not elective surgery. When your chest is collapsing and it's impacting your heart, that ceases to become elective surgery. So why is Candace overtly emphasizing it was elective surgery? Just keep in mind that it was elective. Let's listen to that again. God.
The marriage intact for their unborn child. In June of 2021, Stephen left their home to pursue elective surgery. That's very important. I want you to remember that. I'm going to come back to that point.
It's very important. Candace wants you to know that it's very, very important that the portion of the statement that we already fact-checked and have identified is explicitly untrue, or at least a gross mischaracterization. Candace Owens wants you to know, guys, that that is like the most important part of this statement that we're going to come back to later, because that one statement that we all identified as false, or at least grossly twisted out of context, is Candace thinks that that's one of the most important parts of this entire thing. It just, the pieces keep falling into place. When you start with the basic premise of Candace Owens is a raging narcissist, when you start with that basic premise and you accept that part as true, Everything just falls into place on top of that. It really does. It explains absolutely everything about this entire scenario. A Wrinkle on the Brain podcast says, keep watching, eyes coming up. Oh, good. Oh, good.
Hillary urged him to get the help he needed to address his abuse with the hope that their marriage could be saved and they could peacefully live together as a family. Instead, Stephen refused to do so and chose not to be with his wife during the birth of their twin children. After the birth, Stephen bought a townhouse and left their home permanently. Hillary was not aware that Stephen hired a divorce attorney and asked his assistant to cut Hillary off financially. There is significant documentation substantiating these facts.
And for those who have just joined, we now know that Hillary is the one who filed for divorce. So when she is saying in this statement that Stephen hired the divorce lawyer, she's obfuscating the truth in that Stephen may have had a lawyer, but Hillary was the one who filed for divorce. So that is the second untruth in this statement.
Facts. I want you to remember that portion as well, because that's another lie that Stephen has told publicly. We hope that Stephen will cease from speaking publicly about these personal matters in an untruthful manner. We also look forward to there being full transparency in the legal process, so there is fairness and accountability for the actions that caused the divorce and to ensure the outcome is what is in the best interests of the young children. I would first like to go back to that portion.
Hang on. This is a deeply important question. Christy, what t-shirts would you like? Because let's just take a break from listening to Candace for a second. Because I do, in fact, have t-shirts. I have lots of t-shirts. If you go to unwokeart.com, I'm just going to chill in the middle of this because Candace is being a raging bitch. So I'm going to have a moment because I'm gathering some feelings and some thoughts. But Christy has very nicely asked for some t-shirts. I have some t-shirts at unwokeart.com. You can even find the whole Unwoke t-shirt section. We got the Honest Politician t-shirt. We got the Be Different t-shirt. We got the limited edition Tucker Carlson t-shirt. There are even t-shirts with me as your dear leader. Welcome to the cult, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, I got t-shirts. If you want a specific one, let me know. Maybe I'll make a design. I cannot believe that Candace Owens and the Daily Wire are, in my opinion, running a smear campaign to make it look like Steven Crowder abused his pregnant wife to take revenge on what he did when he recorded the calls with Jeremy Boring. This is so dirty. Does anyone else think this is dirty? Oh, you want me to make a chat fact checked it? That's a good shirt. Candace is lying. That's also a good shirt. Maybe I'll be designing some t-shirts tonight. Who knows? I'm really asking the chat. If you disagree with me, please tell me. Honestly, if you think that I am getting this wrong, please tell me. So, Divinity, good to see you. The theory that I am developing is that although Steven Crowder is absolutely a control freak, and Steven Crowder absolutely got into a fight with his wife in which words were exchanged, that my theory is that we saw exactly the 3 minutes that Hillary Crowder and her lawyers wanted us to see, and that we don't know what happened before it or after. We're not saying the 3 minutes was good, but we're saying that we think that 3 minutes was cut out of context and then given to Yasser Ali, who is a leftist journalist, and Candace Owens, who obviously hates Steven Crowder more than almost anyone else on the planet, in order to begin a smear campaign against Steven Crowder to get revenge on Steven Crowder recording Jeremy Bowen's phone calls back in January. That is my working theory. It is just a theory. I'm not saying it's the truth. I could be wrong. But the basis of this is that we have identified not one, but two overt mistruths or twisting of the facts in Hillary Crowder's statement, to include that Steven Crowder had elective surgery. It wasn't elective. To include that she said that Steven filed for divorce or got a divorce lawyer, but Hillary was the one who actually filed for divorce. It wasn't Steven, it was Hillary. So why is she making this big deal out of Steven got a divorce lawyer first? Well, he didn't file for divorce, you filed for divorce. And it wasn't elective surgery. He needed to reconstruct his rib cage or whatever he did. That's not elective, I'm sorry. Cole says she filed that doesn't mean it didn't move out, cut her off, and contact a divorce lawyer. Well, no, it doesn't mean any of those things, but it does mean that Hillary Crowder is giving you a statement that is making her look in the best possible light. The fact is that Hillary Crowder was the one who filed for divorce. And the fact is that I don't think anyone believes that the surgery Stephen had could be considered elective. So one of the two people is lying. And based on all the evidence I have in front of me, it's Hillary that looks like she's lying because she's pissed off that Stephen Crowder talked about the divorce publicly. And it also appears that Candace knew what was going on when she did her segment the other day, and that she's taking advantage of this as much as possible to hurt Stephen Crowder. So guys, let me know in the chat if you think I'm spot on or not, or if you think I'm wrong. If you think I'm wrong, really tell me and give me a reason that you think I'm wrong. I am totally serious. Let me just look in the chat here. Yeah, Kimberly said, I'm glad the worst fight my husband and I got into wasn't filmed on home security and carefully edited before being released to the public. I think that every married couple in America and possibly the world can also say the same thing. And I said this earlier, but I'll say it again. A lot more people have joined. I've been married for 12 years. Fights happen. Words get said. Married people know how to hurt each other more than any other people on the planet. And because we get hurt, we say the most hurtful things to each other. I have done it. My husband has done it. Pretty much every married person on the planet has done it. And if you cut a 3-minute clip out of any fight that any married couple has ever had ever, you're going to make it look really, really bad for one person or the other, depending on the context. Because that's the way it works. And hopefully you work through the fights and you don't have very many of them. I'm very blessed that I haven't had a fight like that with my husband in, quite possibly a decade. Close to a decade at least. Yeah, I don't see any people in the chat like basically thinking I have it wrong. So Emphasize says I counted 2 splice cutouts of the video. Well, that's interesting, Emphasize. I didn't notice that, but you might not be wrong there. Divinity said, given the audio video to the left is an interesting piece, was that the audio he was being extorted with? Is it public in their law? Divinity, I didn't actually think of this before. Did Candace Owens have this video before? And was that what they were exploiting him with? I didn't think of that. Is that video what they were exploiting him for? Really good question, Divinity. Thank you. All right, let's keep watching.
Where she says Stephen left their home to pursue elective surgery, because I know exactly what surgery she's referring to, because during my first backstage here at Daily Wire, we actually prayed for Stephen and this surgery. So before I show you a clip from us on backstage, here is Stephen describing that surgery, and it certainly doesn't sound like it's elective. Take a listen.
Oh, hang on. That's interesting that Candace is saying that surgery doesn't sound like it was elective. I wouldn't have guessed that. Where's this going, do you think? Let me make a prediction. I haven't watched this. I don't know. Let me just make a prediction. What I think Candace is about to do is say, isn't this funny that Stephen Crowder presented this surgery as much more serious than Stephen Crowder's wife seemed to think it was? Basically, what's about to happen is Candace is going to show us a video that is going to be Stephen Crowder basically presenting this as like life and death surgery that is really important for him to have. And then she's going to give us some piece of information from Hillary Crowder that makes it seem like, well, the surgery wasn't really that important and Stephen didn't really need to get it. And maybe he could have waited. So what Candace is about to do is saying, Stephen, like Hillary said this surgery was elective, but Stephen is saying that it wasn't elective. But really, is Stephen telling the truth? Because Hillary seems to be saying it was elective. Do you see what I'm saying? Candace is about to set Stephen up. That's what she's trying to do. Is my guess. I could be wrong. I'll admit it if I am. We'll see. Flying J says Candace is a monster. But in 2023, I know better than to trust a clip. Covington Kids is the best example, and Dave did nothing wrong, in my opinion. Yeah, I don't disagree with you, Flying J. All right, guys, please mount that like button if you appreciate the takes I'm giving you on this stream. I'm fairly certain I'm going to be the most nuanced person commentating on this tonight. So if you appreciate it, guys, I stream live Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at 5 p.m. On Saturdays, we go to 6 p.m. for Socialism Saturday. Those streams are far more important than this. I highly recommend you join me at 5 p.m. tomorrow for happy hour. And then, of course, 6 p.m. on Saturday for Socialism Saturday. If you want to see the most dystopian stream that you've ever seen in your life, come for Socialism Saturday. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, do all the stuff. And, of course, mount that like button for me and let people know you're enjoying the stream. I would really appreciate it. Let's see if I'm right about my prediction about Candace.
I explained to you a little bit what it is. You know, a lot of people say, why are you smoking? My heart is actually great, but my heart doesn't work great. The reason my heart doesn't work great is, long story short, because of a connective tissue disorder I have, and my chest is caving in on my heart. So I've got about, I'm at a little more than half of the blood flow that you guys have, ventricular output from my.
Let's see. A new Wrinkle on the Brain podcast says, I done made it. I'm good now. Thank you for what you do. Thank you. A new Wrinkle on the Brain. I appreciate you stopping by.
Heart. So it's a mechanical fix. And I don't know, maybe I'll feel like Lance Armstrong, you know, like I'm on EPO after this, because I don't know what it's like to go through life with full blood flow. To me, I'm looking forward to it, not looking forward to the pain. Lance Armstrong, by the way, with the 3 balls, not the one. So yeah, it's overall a positive thing. And honestly, I've probably needed a little bit of rest. It comes in the form of having my chest cracked open.
Obviously, he had the surgery and then his lung collapsed. And here is us praying for him, praying that he actually gets better.
Before we leave, I just have to, this one off the subject for a minute. Our pal, Steve Crowder, who makes the best ashtrays in the country,
truly
is in the hospital fighting for his life. And he's really come close. He's come close to the dark edge of things. And I just want to say that crazy as he is, we love him and we're thinking about him. That we hope he makes it back.
You're a better man than I am.
Well, that's true.
I was actually just looking forward to the show being over so that I could text him and say, hope you don't make it, pal.
Actually, this is a real story. Last night I had to go for a drive because a long story, but I had to burn down gas to take my car into the shop. And so I was going to smoke a cigar and, I was going to say my nightly prayers. I thought, I should probably pray for Crowder, because he's in this. I thought, what's great? I'm going to light up one of the cigars that Crowder sent me.
Yeah.
And Crowder, this guy who's a complete maniac, he sent me these beautiful cigars. And I was like, oh, pal, I'm going to send you some cigars right away from my humidor. Haven't sent him a single thing, but that guy, he, really a generous fellow. And doesn't get enough credit.
I actually did text him and say that we were praying for him at great risk to our souls.
and if he dies, I personally will kill him. Right?
And yet,
did you notice? Did you notice who was completely silent in that segment? It's so interesting that Candace chose to show that segment, because what she's trying to do is make it seem like we all just love Steven and we very much care about him. Did anyone notice who was completely silent in that segment and didn't actually pray for Steven Crowder at all? Does anyone have any guesses? Well, yeah, Matt Walsh would be one of them, wouldn't it be? And I can't miss out the opportunity to say that. But yeah, I mean, I don't recall hearing anything from Candace. Candace didn't say anything in that segment. She didn't pray for him. She didn't express any well wishes to him. Candace kept her mouth shut after she was caught with a shocked look on her face at the very notion that maybe we pray for Steven Crowder. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? Oh yeah, she did cackle, Kimberly, at the end, didn't she? Huh. All right, let's keep going.
according to his wife, this was an elective surgery, really a cosmetic surgery, because Stephen didn't like the way that his chest looked because he had a sunken chest. It was not something that was actually required to save his life. And yet,
So do you remember earlier when I said that Candace was basically going to accuse Stephen of having a boob job? She literally did. She literally, she's like, Steven didn't like that it made his chest look bad. She quite literally just said that, we all prayed for Steven and we were all really worried about him, but he basically had a boob job that he didn't really need to have. Are you kidding me? My opinion, which should not be taken as the gospel truth, it is simply an opinion. It is not fact. I could be wrong. The Daily Wire is running a smear campaign on Steven Crowder, headed by Candace Owens. Just an opinion. Take it for what it's worth. I could be wrong. John O.B. Pectrum's I don't know. You think I can pronounce that? Is what causes a sunken chest. It does not impact the heart. That part was a verifiable lie on Crowder's part. The literature supports this view. I mean, I'm not going to be able to comment on that either way because I don't know. But I still don't think that's an elective surgery. I'm sorry. I still don't think it's an elective surgery. If there are any actual doctors in the house, not someone pretending to be a doctor on YouTube, I would value an opinion here. No offense to Jonna B, but I don't know that you're a doctor. You could have looked that up on WebMD for all I know. Or you could have made it up. I don't know. But if there are any real doctors who can prove your bona fides that wants to weigh in on this, then I would welcome your opinion. The real kind of doctor. I don't know. Sin has had a lot to do in the hospital, and she's talked to a lot of doctors, and she's saying Jono is wrong and that he made it up. Sin tends to have pretty good intuition about this stuff. She knows her stuff. Bot says, severe cases of pectum evacuum can compress the heart and lungs or push the heart over to one side. Even mild cases can result in self-image problems. Oh, so what you're saying is that, and Bot is not a doctor, but Bot probably has gotten information from somewhere. What I'm hearing is that it is a spectrum. So there could be a mild case of it, or there could be a severe case of it, and we don't know what Steven Crowder had. If the condition is severe, the heart and lungs can be affected. We don't know what Steven Crowder had. Peter, King Peter of the chat, second paragraph on Wikipedia, pectus evacuum can impair cardiac and respiratory function and cause pain in the chest and back. Oh, so that's on Wikipedia. So that doesn't sound elective to me. Thank you, King Peter of the chat. I really do appreciate it. Are you really, Kevin? Because your profile picture leaves me questioning your bona fides. A New Wrinkle on the Brain podcast, he was off lives because his heart stopped and lungs collapsed during the procedure. These are monsters. The Daily Wire showed how dark they are. If my hypothesis that the Daily Wire is orchestrating a smear campaign against Steven Crowder is correct, this is one of the lowest, most underhanded pieces of bullshit I have ever seen in my life. John O.B., not a doctor, a medical negligence lawyer. Well, you could be lying about that too, Jono. And Wikipedia seems to disagree with you, and there are other people in the chat who disagree with you. So I do appreciate the super chat, and I appreciate that maybe you're a medical negligence lawyer. But when Wikipedia disagrees with you, we have to have a moment of pause, okay? All right, let's keep going.
Yet we see that same pattern of behavior. Steven garnering a ton of affection and prayers from his followers, purporting to be the victim, when in fact the facts don't line up with his narrative. The second portion that I'd like to point to,
the Mayo Clinic, Magnificent Devil also says the Mayo Clinic disagrees, Jono. Ba also says, my mom was taking care of a kid with a sunken chest and she took him to the doctor and the doctor said someday it may be bad enough to impact his heart. So the point is, we don't know. but I think it's a little inconvenient. I think it's a little convenient rather for Candace to come out and say this was basically just cause Steven Crowder basically had a boob job because he didn't like the way his chest looked, and so he went and had plastic surgery that was no different than a boob job. It Can we all agree that at the bare minimum, Candace really seems to be grossly oversimplifying and twisting something to make it look really good for her, and like Steven Crowder is a heartless monster that went and got a boob job right before his wife gave birth to twins? Can we at least agree that this doesn't look good on Candace's part? Oh, so now Jono has changed the topic, which, Jono, you've just impeded your credibility, my friend, because the fact that you're now I appreciate you're giving me money. I'm not gonna give it back or anything. But like the fact that you have now just changed the topic entirely and have deflected from the fair points that everyone is in the chat is making. And remember, my chat tonight are better fact checkers than the Daily Wire and Candace Owens staff. So we trust them. They do a good job. Jono says, how do you feel about Crowder smoking around his pregnant wife? I mean, I think that that's an issue for them to work out in their relationship. Like, I think that's an issue for them to work out. It's none of our fucking business, is how I feel about it. Like, if he did it all the time, probably not good, but she could have also had a conversation with him to tell him to cut that shit out. Like, when my husband was smoking and I didn't want him to smoke, I said, can you please stop smoking? And then he basically tried to hide it from me for a little while, but I still knew he was smoking. And I told him to cut it out because I could smell it everywhere and I didn't like it. So like husbands and wives can work this stuff out. It's not that big of a deal. Do you guys want to hear? Okay, can I tell a side note of a funny story really quick? I know my new viewers might not understand. Like, I want to tell a funny story. Can I tell you a funny story about my husband smoking? My husband's going to kill me. We were on a cruise like 7 years ago, something like that. And my husband had not smoked cigarettes in years because he was vaping. But on the cruise, I started seeing these random packs of cigarettes like here and there. And I didn't say too much of it until my husband disappeared all day and then came back reeking of cigarette smoke. And I called him out on smoking his cigarettes and he denied it up and down. And I couldn't find the pack of cigarettes. So I couldn't prove that he was smoking cigarettes. And he was like, I was in the casino. I wasn't smoking. I was in the casino the whole time. And then I went on to the TV and I found that he had bought a pack of cigarettes in the casino. So pro tip, ladies, if you are ever on a cruise with your husband and you want to prove that they're smoking when they shouldn't have been effing smoking because they told you they weren't going to smoke, and then they secretly go to the casino and buy a pack of cigarettes and then throw the entire pack away because they know you'll find it and be pissed off at them, just log on to the TV on the cruise and look at the bill and you can find out whether or not they bought the pack of cigarettes. All right? That's my pro tip. Funny story over. Sorry for that interlude. King Peter of the chat says, curious, is this Daily Wire or Candace? Well, it could conceivably be one or the other, but the Daily Wire seemed pretty pissed at Steven Crowder. But it wouldn't surprise me at all if Candace orchestrated the entire thing. Again, that's just an opinion, not fact, just an opinion. I guess we'll find out how independent Daily Wire contributors get to be, hopefully when she gets canned. Well, if Candace really coordinated this entire goddamn thing as revenge, man, I can't. A New Wrinkle on the Brain podcast says he had been in pain for months. Go back to 2021. I believe you. We don't need to go back. I believe you. I vaguely remember this happening. And then Jen says, this seems more like a preventative surgery, not elective, so that it wouldn't turn into a severe case at a point of death later. That's a really great point, Jen. It could have absolutely been a preventative surgery where the doctor said, if you don't do this now, this is probably going to get a whole lot worse. So you might as well just do it now. You're about to have kids. Just do it now. Get it over with. Do it now so you don't have to do it later because you're going to have it at some point. That very well could have happened as well. And then a New Wrinkle on the Brain podcast. Sorry, is my husband in the chat? Is he here? Oh no. Sorry, the lawyer guy got me triggered. Crowder brought Landau on to cover while he was in surgery and recovery. Nope, no worries. You're cool. You're cool, New Wrinkle on the Brain podcast. I do appreciate the super chats. Yes, can everyone that's not me please email HG Tutor if you know who he is. If you don't know who he is, don't worry about it. But like, can you please email him and tell him at his designated email address where he takes suggestions, because I think it's a specific email address. Can you please ask him to analyze Candace Owens, please? I want to see him analyze Candace Owens so bad. I also want to see him analyze Nick Fuentes. That's a side story. Cerulean Impact, Candace Owens thrives off drama. You can tell she's relishing it like Homer Simpson relishes donuts. Ain't it the truth? Ain't it the truth? All right. That's the end of the super chats, guys. Let's keep going.
Is where it says Hillary was not aware that Stephen hired a divorce attorney. This stands in stark contrast to what he told his followers when he said how hard divorce was and how difficult and horrific it had been and how he really didn't want it, and just, Texas is a no-fault divorce state. What is the truth here? I don't know. Obviously, right now we have his wife's word versus Stephen's word, but given my personal experience with Stephen, I am very much inclined to believe his wife. Now, I'd like to get in some other portions of this article.
I'm sure that's
which
true.
I think are really.
I'm not looking at facts or evidence. You know what Candace is doing? Candace is allowing her feelings to dictate the facts that Candace is willing to consider. Candace is doing the direct opposite of facts don't care about your feelings right now, because she has ignored the facts, ignored provable, verifiable things, and instead said, Hillary is much nicer to me than Stephen is, so I believe Hillary. That's basically what Candace just did. Facts don't care about your feelings, Candace. We see right through it.
Important. The writer has a bunch of audio files and text messages that were sent to him that he was able to review. He writes, in audio files and text messages that I reviewed, Stephen Crowder admits to some of his faults, which include a volcanic temper, repeatedly and at times regretfully. But according to sources that I spoke to who are familiar with their relationship, Crowder's admissions often came after a sustained period of mental and emotional abuse, and he didn't seem to be able to control his impulses. That, again, is something that I have seen personally. Very bizarre, but he would insert me.
No, you haven't seen it personally. You haven't seen it personally at all, Candace, because you're about to make a whole bunch of shit up or just then. Emphasize says that tone change from Hillary to Stephen wasn't that interesting. Emphasize. On this, we agree. I can give credit where credit is due. You know it. Thank you for the super chat. So basically, like, I'm sorry. Let's just. I want to just listen to this last bit again. Is that okay? So essentially, they're saying that Stephen, that this author of this article was able to review the evidence that Hillary Crowder's lawyers have. Now, again, if the evidence is coming from Hillary Crowder's lawyers, it is going to be evidence that presents a certain perspective. And I want to be really, really clear about this. I am not arguing that Stephen Crowder does not have control issues. I absolutely believe that Stephen Crowder has control issues. I am not arguing that Stephen Crowder hasn't at times gotten testy and had his temper flare up. I am sure that is absolutely true. It probably happens when he gets taken out of control and he doesn't like being taken out of control. However, everything that Candace is about to say about Stephen's temperament and Stephen's attitude can be true. And at the same time, the Daily Wire and Candace Owens could be running a smear campaign on Stephen by taking things out of context and twisting them to mean the worst possible thing that they can, information that they got from Hillary Crowder's divorce lawyers that is always going to present Hillary Crowder's case in the best possible light, and then they could be taking it and twisting it even more to make it seem even worse than it already seemed. All of that can be true, that they're running a smear campaign, and it can also be true that Stephen Crowder is a deeply flawed person with control issues that sometimes has flare-ups of anger, and that married people get into fights and they say things that they don't mean, and that's the way it goes. No one is arguing here that Stephen Crowder is a saint, all right? But that doesn't mean that what Candace is saying is on the up and up.
Are really important. the writer has a bunch of audio files and text messages that were sent to him that he was able
That
to
could be
review.
true.
He writes, in audio files and text messages that I reviewed, Steven Crowder admits to some of his faults, which include a volcanic temper, repeatedly and at times regretfully. But according to sources that I spoke to who are familiar with their relationship, Crowder's admissions often came after a sustained period of mental and emotional abuse, and he didn't seem to be able to control his impulses. That, again, is something that I have seen personally. Very bizarre, but he would insert me into a divorce announcement and purport that I somehow extorted him. It's very bizarre in the way that he attacked the Daily Wire. And there just seemed to be a lot of signs.
Candace is trying to conflate with Steven Crowder hurt my feelings and Steven Crowder said things I didn't like with Steven Crowder is a mentally and emotionally abusive husband that emotionally abuses his 8-month pregnant wife. Not 8-month-old, 8-month pregnant wife. Like, those two things are not the same. Steven Crowder saying words that Candace Owens doesn't like, that reveals the true nature of who Candace Owens is not the same thing as the allegations that she is making against Steven Crowder. And again, Steven Crowder can have moments where he loses it and gets pissed off, and he is probably a deeply imperfect person, but that doesn't mean that a 3-minute clip cut out of context is indicative of every single thing that happened. We don't know what happened. Peter says, and I think this is a great point, King Peter, Hillary, her lawyers, Yasser Ali, and Candace Owens, you must believe all these people are honest actors to believe any of this. I don't think Candace Owens is an honest actor. I don't think that Yasser Ali is an honest actor. I think Hillary Crowder is probably a woman that has had her heart broken, and rightfully so, and is probably really angry and really sad and probably really still grieving the relationship and has 2 young kids and is in the middle of a divorce. So I'm not saying that she's like a dishonest actor. I'm saying that she is grieving the loss of probably one of the most important relationships in her life and probably is working through a lot of feelings, and that impacts how people act. But Hillary Crowder's divorce lawyers are absolutely not honest actors because they're divorce lawyers. So we know at least 3 people on this list are not honest actors that are to be believed. And then we've got Hillary Crowder, who is a woman going through a messy divorce with young kids and probably had her heart broken and I feel for her. I really, really do. But people do crazy things when they are heartbroken. All right. Let me just scroll through the chat real quick.
That he is not able to control his emotions. And so the question that I will ask is, how many people are going to allege abuse from Steven Crowder before we listen, before we stop saying he's one of us because he says things that he agrees with? We purport that we are the party of family values. How can you look at that video and defend him in any way? How can you look at that video and not roundly condemn this and say this is not?
Because we know you're a snake, Candace. Because it is very clear to us that you're a raging narcissist, Candace. And what are one of the things that narcissists like to do when they get taken out of control and they don't like it? They run smear campaigns. And you knew about Hillary Crowder's statement, or you knew some sort of statement was going to be released before you even did your segment the other day. You knew this was coming. You took advantage of it to make yourself look good by inserting yourself into this again when you didn't even need to do it in the first place. You didn't need to do it in January when you made Steven Crowder is going through some personal problems right now. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Just let's pray for Steven Crowder because he really has a lot of personal problems right now. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You never had to say that on your show, Candace. And you know as well as I do, as well as anyone who pays attention to any of this, that when you did that on your show, you sent your legion of simps into Steven Crowder's social media to try to figure out what was going on. You did it for a purpose because you had already stalked his social media to try to find dirt on him and his wife and had already tried to use it against him in a public arena to get him to shut up after you were embarrassed on a very large stage. You didn't need to insert yourself then. And guess what, Candace? With Steven Crowder calling you out the other day, which he should not have done, and was a really stupid move on his part. It was stupid. Steven Crowder never should have made that video in the first place. He, like, his wife asked him not to say anything publicly about the divorce. He should have not said anything publicly about the divorce. However, Candace, you didn't need to respond. You could have just responded with your lawyers. You didn't need to respond. You didn't need to do a public statement. You didn't need to publicly lie again about your actions back in January. You didn't need to invite Hillary Crowder on your show when you probably, and this is just an opinion, I could be wrong, when you probably already knew that this was going to come out today. You had some sense. You maybe even knew about the whole thing and were the one that orchestrated it in the first place. And the reason you invited Hillary Crowder on your show was to get back at Steven Crowder. And then, oh, magically, right after Candace Owens invites Hillary Crowder on her show, magically, there's a 3-minute clip that is cut out of context where we don't know what happened on either side of it. And it looks like a married couple fighting to me and people saying things they didn't mean to say. And then this was from June of 2021. Is it possible that this is the video that Steven was being extorted with since it got made? Because it wasn't Steven Crowder who filed for divorce, unlike what Hillary Crowder is trying to imply in the statement from her lawyers. It wasn't Steven Crowder who filed for divorce. It was Hillary Crowder that filed for divorce. So how long has this video been hanging over his head? And you mean to tell me that you are the one on the up and up in this situation when you probably knew about all of this? Just an opinion. I could be wrong. I don't buy it. I don't buy it at all. Penelope, just a couple of bucks. I love you and your loyal people like Sin and Reagan and that D-bag bot. Well, we welcome you into the community, Penelope. It's really nice to have you here. Let me see. King Peter in the chat. This is all too fast. What if Steven knew this was coming? What if Steven knew this was coming? I mean, yeah, he probably, Steven Crowder. Okay. Let's live in this reality for a moment. What if the reason that Steven Crowder made the video talking about his divorce, what if, and again, like I said, I think that was a stupid idea to make that video, except what if Steven Crowder made that video talking about his divorce because he knew that this was coming? Because he had some sort of inkling that his wife, and he knew about this video. I bet you he already knew about this video from June. This video is not a surprise. Obviously, he was there when it happened, but like he probably knew that his wife's lawyers had this video. What if Steven Crowder had heard through the grapevine, because it's all just a gossip mill behind the scenes, that this was going to get released? When did Steven Crowder know that that video was going to get released? Because if he knew that this video was going to get released and he was trying to get out ahead of something, I can understand that. That makes more sense about why he would have made the really ill-conceived decision to talk about his divorce publicly in the first place, is if he already knew it was coming out and he was trying to get ahead of it. But other than that, I don't know why else he would make, I don't like, I still think the choice was probably stupid. I still think he probably shouldn't have made the video, but I guess I could understand it more if he knew it was coming out. Maybe one of Candace's staff leaked it to Crowder. Maybe someone at the Daily Wire knew and they leaked it to Crowder. I don't know. Maybe. Let's wrap up.
Not something that actually represents the things that we believe. The writer goes on to say, like so many things in his life in recent years, Crowder's temper and paranoia led him to destroy his relationships with Sir Shapiro, Boring, and others at the Daily Wire when he posted a video on his channel suggesting that the Daily Wire, without naming the company, was attempting to align itself with big tech by mentioning in their initial offer to him that if he was demonetized on social media platforms, that it would reduce his overall compensation. Well, again, going back to the pattern, it's not just the Daily Wire. It's David Landau. It's Sven the Computer. It's Jared Monroe, formerly known as Not Gay Jared, people that are locked into NDAs and are not allowed to speak about the abuse that they endured by Steven Crowder. It's Owen Benjamin. It's now his wife. Do you believe that all of these
Yes, you can be an asshole and still have this be a smear campaign, Candace. I'm not suggesting that Steven Crowder is the greatest boss to work for in the world. I don't think, based on that 5-minute clause alone, I don't think that Steven Crowder is probably the greatest boss to work for in the world because he has massive control issues. And I'm sure he brought those control issues into his own relationship with his own wife. And that can all be true, Candace. And this could still be a smear campaign that you maybe are orchestrating for revenge. Those two things can be true at once. Just an opinion. I could be wrong. But one does not have to be false for the other to be true. They can both be true. They can also both be false, by the way. We don't really know either way. Pineapple Girl, thank you for the super chat. Can we please go back to celebrities keeping their private lives private and all the dirt comes out after they die, please? I've been through a nasty divorce. Nobody knows what goes on behind closed doors. That is exactly right. People do not know what goes on behind closed doors. Shauna, thank you for the super chat. I just woke up from a nap, but how do you think this info mixes with Landau? Also, Candace Owens is wrong for this. Everyone looks bad. Like I said, I think that 5-minute contract thing that Dave Landau talked about, I haven't watched that whole interview. I just watched the little clip of it. But I think that shows and proves that Crowder has control issues. But that doesn't mean that this is not a smear campaign.
various different parties, the majority of them who have never spoken to each other. I've never spoken to Sven the Computer. I've never spoken to David Landau. I've never spoken to Hillary Crowder. I've never spoken to Owen Benjamin.
You know what's so interesting about that? How Candace is phrasing this? Is Candace, and we'll rewind this and look at it, Candace is talking about all these people who worked for or were married to Steven Crowder. And all of them had some sort of problem with working for or being married to Steven Crowder. She lists off all these people. And then she says, I didn't know them. I didn't know them. I didn't know them. I didn't know them. It's almost like even though Candace Owens wasn't involved in any of Steven Crowder's business dealings and didn't know anything about Steven Crowder's personal relationship with his wife, even though she wasn't involved in any of it at all, she's still trying to insert herself into the story that she was not a part of until she put herself in it because she's a raging narcissist that always has to be the center of attention, even if she's not involved at all. Let's rewind. I want you guys to hear this. So what she's going to say is there's a whole long group of a big group of people who don't like Steven Crowder, and then she's going to name all the people who don't like Steven Crowder, and then she's going to compare herself to all of them, even though she wasn't involved in the relationship at all. And yes, Kimberly, this is very reminiscent of how she treated Nicole Arbor. She isn't involved in any of this and inserted herself so she can turn it into content. I would agree with that opinion. Absolutely. Let's listen.
Would reduce his overall compensation. Well, again, going back to the pattern, it's not just the Daily Wire. It's David Landau. It's Sven the Computer. It's Jared Monroe, formerly known as Not Gay Jared, people that are locked into NDAs and are not allowed to speak about the abuse that they endured by Steven Crowder. It's Owen Benjamin. It's now his wife. Do you believe that all of these various different parties, the majority of them who have never spoken to each other, I've never spoken to Sven the Computer. I've never spoken to David Landau. I've never spoken to Hillary Crowder. I've never spoken to Owen Benjamin.
Why would it matter if Candace Owens spoke to any of those people except if she was trying to insert herself into the situation? And yet that's the part where she has the most adamant. I've never done this. I've never done that. I've never done this. I've never done that. Because she needs to insert herself into the situation. That's what it is. Obviously.
Do you believe that all of these people, as is the paranoid narrative that Steven Crowder is presenting, are working maybe in collusion with big
Yes.
tech to try to destroy him?
Well, maybe not that.
Or do you believe it's plausible that Steven Crowder is just a monster?
A monster? A monster. You want us to believe that Steven Crowder is a monster based on this evidence? Really, Candace? Really? I promise each and every one of you that if video footage of Candace Owens in a fight with her husband, who is British and aristocratic, if a fight between the two of them ever got released, Steven Crowder is going to look like a pussycat compared to the absolute nightmare that Candace Owens would be if a 3-minute clip got released from her British husband's divorce lawyers as part of a smear campaign to make Candace Owens look like a psychopath. I promise you, the footage would be so much worse than anything that Hillary Crowder has on Steven Crowder that Candace would be a goddamn terror if you saw an out of context 3-minute clip of her fighting with her aristocratic British husband. My God, I hope it happens. I really do. I don't normally wish for this stuff, but it couldn't happen to a nicer girl. If Candace Owens and her husband ever break up, I pray, I hope and pray that we get to see a 3-minute out of context clip of Candace Owens fighting with her aristocratic British husband. Shauna, so my dad is a clinically diagnosed narcissist, not a doctor. I'm really sorry about that, Shauna. That sucks. But this does feel like two narcs lashing out at each other. What's triggering is the position Candace Owens put Hillary Crowder in. I mean, I agree with you. Again, this would be another fascinating thing for HG Tutor to we've had so many narcissist things come out. It works out well because we've talked about HG Tutor so much in my community. And so we kind of know his stuff because we've talked about it a lot. I would love to see him analyze this. Again, I'm not going to email him and ask him because he won't listen to me, but you guys can. Oh my God. And thank you, Shauna, for the super chat. I do appreciate it. Oh my God. Wow. Okay, let's finish.
Personally believe that he is a monster. And that is, by the way, Stephen, if you're watching, I'm not trying to extort you. I am just simply telling the truth. There was a lot of things that are going on. And
Stephen, I'm not trying to extort you, Stephen. I'm sorry I have to pause every 2 seconds because Candace just says another thing I need to mock. Stephen, I'm not trying to hurt you, Stephen. Stephen, I prayed for you. I prayed for you when you had surgery. I'm so sorry it has come to this, Stephen. But I'm a real journalist. And I expose people on the left and the right. And Stephen, you understand, I'm telling the truth. I really have your best interest at heart. And I am simply heartbroken that I have to be the one to reveal this footage. I am so sorry that this happened. But I'm just telling the truth, Stephen. That's what she just said. Professor Tem, why would you put that evil on us? Why would you say that? I don't want to picture that. God. How rude, Professor Tem. My God. Let's rewind. Let's listen to Candace's best Oscar-worthy performance ever.
By the way, Stephen, if you're watching, I'm not trying to extort you. I am just simply telling the truth. There was a lot of things that are going on. And I'm
not trying to extort you, Stephen. I'm just telling the truth. A New Wrinkle on the Brain podcast. Your Candace accent is on point. Thank you for your works. Thank you, New Wrinkle on the Brain podcast. I appreciate it.
glad that his wife found the strength to speak out. And I'm calling upon everybody to roundly condemn this, to reject this firmly, not to somehow come up with an excuse and say, oh, well, it's a divorce, so we shouldn't talk about it. We should mind our own business.
Yes.
No, the way that we represent ourselves privately and publicly should be the same. If you purport to.
Candace is now trying to give herself an out in terms of running a smear campaign about Steven Crowder getting a divorce. I didn't think we were going to get any more points. I didn't. Candace, you should have minded your own fucking business. Yes, Candace needs an exorcist. Jeremy Boring has more than enough money to get Candace Owens the exorcism she so clearly and obviously fucking needs. The power of Christ compels you, Candace. The power of Christ compels you. The power of Christ compels you. The power of Christ compels you. What is wrong with you? She's honestly justifying using Steven Crowder's divorce against him. Oh my God. Shauna, notice Shapiro, who I don't like, but I don't think is a narc and knew both of them, is not commenting. Well, because Ben Shapiro, for all his faults, and he has many, he's not going to wade into this bullshit. He's way too smart for that. Thank you for the super chat, Shauna. I do appreciate it. Let's just listen to Candace justify this again. I cannot believe she did this. No, I can believe she did this. Obviously, she did this.
By the way, Stephen, if you're watching, I'm not trying to extort you. I am just simply telling the truth. There was a lot of things that are going on.
Exactly.
And I am glad
there is
that
no
his wife found
Candace,
the strength
only
to speak out.
Zool.
And I'm calling upon everybody to roundly condemn this, to reject this firmly, not to somehow come up with an excuse and say, oh, well, it's a divorce, so we shouldn't talk about it. We should mind our own business. No, the way that we represent ourselves privately and publicly should be the same. If you purport to care about family values, again, then you should care about this situation and you should condemn it. Yashar Ali also added in this article, in reviewing documentary evidence related to their marriage, Steven Crowder appears to be obsessed with the idea that his wife is only interested in him for money. Hillary Crowder started dating him well before he became famous and wealthy. He was making less than $100,000 a year when they got married. Again, the Crowder narrative never seems to line up with the reality. And on that note, for those of you that are asking for an update, yes, I did send a cease and desist to him regarding his comments that I somehow extorted him. I sent the cease and desist. I heard back from his lawyer. And essentially what I get from this is that his lawyer is saying that this was just his opinion and it was just Steven Crowder's feelings. And even though it wasn't reality.
Steven Crowder's lawyer told Candace to go fuck herself. Steven Crowder's lawyer told Candace to take her cease and desist letter and shove it. That's essentially what Candace is saying. Good. Good, Candace.
Too bad, so sad. Here's exactly what that legal letter back to me said. I'm going to read you a couple of quotations. It says, the simple fact is that Ms. Owens, as shown in the clip, made thinly veiled threats directed at Mr. Crowder that she would release the alleged dirt she had on him if he kept making statements about the Daily Wire. Mr. Crowder's opinions fall short of any defamation. At most, he has merely opined comparatively the feeling of certain misconduct to his own present state of being. Then the subsequent use of the word threats is not in and of itself an accusation of crime, even within the larger context in which it was used. The most reasonable implication is not an accusation of crime, but that threats have occurred that fall short of being a crime. Again, at most, they are simply reminiscent in Mr. Crowder's personal opinion of the specifically referenced type of misconduct. In short, these are his feelings, they are not facts, and his opinions are protected. And to make it clear for those of you that thought there was something going on in the background or that someone had secretly threatened him, his lawyer is alleging that's not the case. He was simply referring to the exact clip that he showed you of me. Nothing else happened. He just wanted you guys to think that he was under duress in some other capacity. In short, as I have said, I believe Steven Crowder is an absolute monster, and I encourage all of the other people that he has victimized to find their strength to speak out now. By the way, his lawyer offered.
This is Candace saying, if anyone else has material that we can use against Steven Crowder, now's the best time to speak up. Do you want to come on my show? Do you want an interview on my show? I will lift you up and I will get all my audience to support you. And if you want to speak out and give me dirt on Steven Crowder, I will make sure that you get launched and are relevant in this bullshit commentary space because you will have shown bravery and loyalty And I want to make sure that that's basically what Candace is saying right now. I hope people understand that. Magnificent Devil became a member of the channel. I do appreciate that, Magnificent Devil. Thank you so very much.
Offered to me that we could both agree to a ceasefire if I agreed that I would never speak about Steven Crowder again. And to him, I would publicly like to say, your client doesn't have that kind of money to keep Candace Owens from speaking out about things that I find to be absolutely despicable. And that's all I'm going to say.
Steven Crowder has more money than you do, Candace. Steven Crowder is more wealthy than you are, Candace. Steven Crowder is more famous than you are, Candace. Steven Crowder has more supporters than you do, Candace. So you can, say, I have all the money I need, and no amount of money is going to make me shut up all you want. But we see right through you, Candace. We know what's going on. It's very, very clear to anyone who's paying attention and who is not a Daily Wire simp or a simp for you. It is very, very clear that this entire thing was orchestrated to smear Steven Crowder by showing people the worst possible twisted out of context information that could be shown that is so easy to prove wrong with the most basic of fact checks, which my chat did in less than 10 minutes after seeing that statement live on the internet. Something that your Daily Wire staff and your producers didn't even bother to do because it wouldn't have suited your narrative to do it. We all see what's going on, Candace. Steven Crowder's not a monster. Flawed? Sure. No doubt in my mind that Steven Crowder is a very flawed human being. No doubt in my mind at all. No doubt in my mind that he could use some therapy because most of us could. No doubt in my mind that he probably has control issues. No doubt in my mind that maybe he wasn't the best boss in the world to work for. But a monster, Candace? A monster? No. No. Not at all. Well, guys, I've got a poll in the chat, so you can let me know what you think. Whose side are you on in this? Steven Crowder's or Candace Owens? Let me know what you think. Let's just wrap this up to make sure we got it all.
Say about that. All right, guys, now let's jump into some of your comments. I love getting into some of your comments.
Oh my God. And now we're going to jump into your comments, guys, because really we have so much gossip to share now that I've smeared Steven Crowder live on the internet. But I felt so good smearing Steven Crowder live on the internet that I just can't help myself. That's Candace Owens, of course. Wow. So what do people think in the chat? Give me some general thoughts. I will display them on the screen. What do we think about this? Guys, please mount that like button for me if you appreciate my takes tonight. It is almost it's 12:30 in the morning, my time. Maybe I'll get a chance to write tonight. I do hope so. It looks like 84% of you agree with me that you are on Steven Crowder's side. I think I was fair. I think I was fair in my analysis. I think that I came in with an open mind. I genuinely was not on Steven's side of things when this whole thing started. In fact, I was kind of not on his side of things, to be honest, because I didn't like the way he looked in that video. But now thinking about it and processing the information and, she's welcome to try. Candace is welcome to send me a cease and desist letter. And you know how I would respond to it? I would say, Candace, I was definitely wrong in every single thing that I said. You are absolutely not a raging narcissist. I just don't know how I could have ever possibly thought that because it's obvious that there is absolutely no evidence that you're a raging narcissist. And you know what? It was wrong of me to say over and over and over again on the internet that you're a raging narcissist. How rude of me. I apologize. It was obviously not true. And that's exactly what I would say to any cease and desist letter that Candace Owens wants to send me. That right there. So she's welcome to try. I will never, Candace, I promise that I will never express an opinion on the internet that you disagree with again. I promise. That would never happen. Like, oh my. Candace is desperately searching for a constant relevance and clout via dirty methods that are antithetical to her own values and principles, not that she has any. Also, I was going to say, Steven, Candace doesn't have any values and principles. None at all. None at all. Melissa says, I had no clue about this beef. What the hell is the Daily Wire focusing on? Why the hell is Daily Wire focusing on this distraction? That is a great question. We have real issues to be concerned about. Daily Wire needs to be more professional if they want to be taken seriously. I completely agree, Melissa. I completely agree. Completely agree. Let me look in the chat, see if I missed anything. We're just chatting now, guys. If you want to hang out, you're more than welcome. But if you're new to the channel, I do hope you'll join me again. We do happy hour. I guess today now we're doing it at 5 p.m. Eastern time. We are watching White and Woke at work, and we're going to drink some beers and talk about it. But of course, please make sure the most important thing is that you join me on Saturday at 6 p.m. for Socialism Saturday. It's going to be the most dystopian stream you see all week. I promise. It's going to be great. We're watching a video from socialists discussing the George Floyd rebellion because that's what they're calling the riots of 2020. These are real socialists, the farthest left of the far left. That's part of what I cover on the channel. And I hope you'll join me for that on Saturday at 6 p.m. It's going to be great. Soul Fire on Fire says she needs to do retractions of 2 of her videos she has done on Hilton and Swift, where she outright lies about them, whether people like them or not. She outright lied. Both of them are gross. She lies. She also flat out lied about Eliza Blue, by the way. And I know not everyone agrees with my opinion about Eliza Blue. I believe Eliza Blue is telling the truth. But even if Eliza Blue was fabricating, there are still things that Candace Owens provably lied about Eliza Blue about. And that was really disgusting to me. I did a whole debunking video of it. And so you can go ahead and watch that. It's on the channel. It has an icon that has Candace Owens and Smear Merchant written on it. I also debunked Blair White on that because they were lying so much. It was so bad. It really was. A New Wrinkle on the Brain podcast. LOL, that Candace voice has me dying. That voice is super funny. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, been against Candace since she before she was on You've been against Candace since before she was on Rogan. I didn't have any opinion about Candace Owens really until she started really just I've heard too many stories and I've seen too much. And yeah. So far, it makes me angry that she brought herself into this. If I'm right in my assessment of Steven, that Candace actually put his wife in danger. I hope he didn't. I really do. I hope he didn't. But married people fight, and sometimes the fights are bad, and it is what it is. Yeah, Owens also said that Eliza had to do an OnlyFans. Real conservative, Candace. Real loving and conservative, and obviously deeply Christian. Melissa says, I stopped watching Owens a long time ago. She's insufferable. I liked her a few years ago, but when she started her own channel or whatever, we get to see her narcissism on full display. It's bad, man. Maybe that's why Candace Owens blocked me on Twitter, because I've been ranting a lot about how she's a raging narcissist. How many times do you guys think I should say raging before I say raging narcissist when I'm talking about Candace Owens? Like 4 times, 5 times, 6 times? Like, what is an adequate number, do you think? What is an appropriate number that's like a lot, but like not too much? We don't want to go too far. What do you guys think? Kimberly says, you're awesome, Carlin. Glad to catch you live. Thank you for bringing sense and professionalism to YouTube. Such situations like this, and sadly, too many are not able to see facts due to their feelings. I do appreciate that, Kimberly. I really did try to be fair. I really didn't have an opinion on this when I started this stream. This went much different than I thought it was going to go. Pineapple Girl says 7. Josie says 10. 5, 7, 9, 5, 3. 7 is the big winner. So raging narcissist. That feels about right. Candace Owens is a raging narcissist. You got to have a little extra emphasis on that last raging, don't we? I thought that sounded pretty good. Glenn says, Candace is too eager and too disingenuous. Used to like her and her anti-woke stance, but cannot listen to her obviously raging narcissism. You mean the raging narcissism. Jennifer says, I don't like that there was no context for that video, and the way Hillary was acting made me wonder if she was planning to use this against him. She says all the right things. Yeah. I don't know that I would go so far as to say I think she was acting. But like sometimes when things are a little too convenient, they are, you know? Sometimes they just are. Let's see. I just got an email from Christy about t-shirts. Let me see. I feel bad even asking this, but do you have any tank tops? I would love to buy a Tucker tank, and if you made any about Candace, I'd buy that too. If not, is sizing listed? Christy, if you're watching, I'm happy to make a tank top. Guys, when you get merch from my merch store, which you can find at unwokeart.com. So what I do is if you want me to make something specific, I usually do very specific things for my merch, but I have this Substack called unwokeart.substack.com. I'll put a link in the chat. When I add a new design to the store, I post the design in the Substack. So we go into like the Tucker one for my limited Tucker Carlson collection, and you can see I've got the designs in there. But one of the things you can do, and I say this in the Substack, is if you would like different colors or if you would like different products or anything else, just let me know in the comments and I can always try. I can't guarantee it, but I can always try. Like I said, when I did the Cheshire cat design, which I'll show you guys in a second, and then we'll go back to ragging on Candace. That's not the Cheshire cat. When I did this one, which is my most popular design in the store, I have t-shirts, water bottles, mugs, all that good stuff. My community asked me, "Can you put this on mouse pads?" Well, sure, I can put it on a mouse pad. Sure. And so I added a new product to the store. So if you want something new in the store, just let me know. And I'm having so much fun making those designs, guys, and I do appreciate the support. All of the purchases in the merch store obviously go to support my work, so I think it's great. Steven, I used to like her when she was smaller, less polished, and being attacked by black leftists, but she's unhinged and full of herself, worshiping the golden calf. I think that's exactly right, Steven. Somebody said, I'm interested in seeing who on the right covers this because if it was someone on the left, the right would have a field day. Oh my, that's a really good point. Because, you know, like half of the people are trying to suck up to Steven Crowder to being on his new like network or whatever the heck he's doing. And half of the people are trying to suck up to the Daily Wire, so they want to be on their side. This is why I don't associate with anyone. I'm like, I can say whatever I want. I don't care what people think of me. Daily Wire is controlled opposition. It's the same strategy they use to hijack the progressives with identity politics, but tailored to hijack the populace with negative values for the culture war. I completely agree with that. 1000%. Let's see. King Peter of the chat says, I bet she's gone too far here. Jeremy Boring seems like a largely honest actor. I don't think he's perfect, but I do actually think he does a fairly good job. My bet is Candace gets canned 3 weeks from now. Well, let's start a pool. Does Candace Owens' contract get renewed with the Daily Wire? I don't know. Alexander, this the best breakdown I've seen of this situation. Thank you for that, Alexander. I do appreciate it. Shauna says, Daily Wire is a contractor. Their commentators have lots of free range in terms of what they can cover. Also, Candace probably didn't give Jeremy a heads up. I'm sure that that's true. I am sure that that's true. It was interesting how the journalist made sure he mentioned the Daily Wire incident while talking about his wife. It's just so obvious it was a planned hit. Again, as someone who has been on the receiving end of bullshit like this, it is very obvious to me that this was orchestrated. It's very, very obvious. Leon says, yeah, I think Candace is operating on her own in this one, at least for the most part. You might be right. I don't know. Xavier says, let's not forget before Candace got big, she ran a doxing server and was never a conservative. She's a grifting POS. Well, I hesitate to hurl out the G term because I think it's really overused. But yeah, she is. I'm sorry, she is, obviously. Always has been, always will be. I do actually have, let me see if I can get it up real quick. I do actually have AI art that I made of Candace after I found out that she blocked me on Twitter that might be great for a t-shirt. Do you guys want to see it real quick while we continue scrolling through the chat? I posted it on Twitter. Why aren't you working, Midjourney? Okay, hang on. Let me get my Midjourney up in a different browser. Jesus. But I think you'll really like it for those who haven't seen it. No, not that one. This one. Then. Hang on, guys. I'm just getting the window up so we can actually see. Do-do-do-do-do. These are my mid-journey designs that I've been tinkering with, so you guys are going to see some behind-the-scenes stuff, but I do have some of Candace Owens. That's when Elon Musk was going after Substack. I was making Communist Musk. Let's see. Where's my Candace designs? There she is! There she is! There's Candace! That's not too bad, right? There she is. And this one too, I got Candace in a revival tent. Oh God. That might be a good one. That might be a good one for to like have like Candace is basically smiting Steven Crowder or something. Fun times, fun times. Let me see. Let me get back to the chat. Guys, we're just chatting right now. So if you join me tonight, I already did all my commentary and yelling on the whole Steven Crowder, Candace Owens things. I've mostly come down on Steven Crowder's side. I think this was an orchestrated hit and a smear campaign. And I'm not suggesting that Hillary Crowder is not hurting, and I'm sure that Steven Crowder is not a perfect person, but I think that this is a smear campaign. So that's my opinion on it. If you don't agree with it, fine. If you want to know more, you can start the video at the beginning. I'm just chatting with the chat right now. We're just hanging out. I'll hang out a little bit longer, maybe no more than like 15 minutes. Some said Steven was bad for smoking around her. Hillary could have stayed inside unless she saw the perfect opportunity to pick a fight with Steven directly in front of the security camera. That could very well be. Let me see. Wouldn't this be funny? Crowder needs to slap her back with a defamation lawsuit. Well, if Candace Owens is behind this, and quite frankly, even if she's not, Candace Owens did just basically publicly accuse Steven Crowder of abusing his wife. So some might call that defamation. Saying, Under the Moon, Carlin made good points. Chat was fun to read. Good stream. I appreciate that, Under the Moon. Thank you very much. See, we try to keep it chill on my channel. Late night streams are chill. No need to... if I'm yelling, it's because I'm passionate. It's not because we're stressing ourselves out. And I'm very passionate about Candace Owens being a raging narcissist. I am deeply passionate about that fact. Let's see. Oh, you guys like Call Me Musk too? Yeah, that was a fun one. Midjourney is so fun. Guys, we are having an AI art contest right now on unwokeart.substack.com. If you want to play around with AI and come make some cool AI art, you could actually win merch in my merch store. You can, let me just, let me get the, I can show you. I might just drop the link in the chat. If you want to find out more about my Unwoke art contest, hang on. Head over to unwokeart.substack.com. And it's totally free to join. It's just for fun. And what I'll do, it's a little farther down. It's this contest entry. And this has all the rules, and you've still got a couple more days to enter. And basically, I'm giving you like 5 prompts, and it's your job to make AI art that represents these prompts. We've got woke, cancel culture, struggle session, white supremacy, and patriarchy. And then in a different post on the Substack, you know what? I'm just going to pin this. Well, let me do it in a different browser. I'm going to pin that to the top of the page. Hang on. So it's easier to find. So you can just go to unwokeart.substack.com, and that should be pinned on the homepage now. I can show you. Bing! There it is, right on the homepage. And if you want to see some examples of AI that people have created, you can go into here. And here's one for woke. Here's another one for woke to mean land blessing. This is one from Jan to mean a hive mind. This is really cool. I'm going to post all the things in here. This is just for fun, just to get our creative juices flowing. This is from Bot. This is a woke businessman taking advantage of LGBTQIA plus stuff to make money. This is cancel culture, another great one from Bot. This is also cancel culture from Bot, which I think is really good. Struggle session, I think that's from Jan. Another struggle session, I thought this one was really powerful. A bunch of sheep trying to cajole a child. Like, that was really good. We've got another struggle session, like a battle, white supremacy, a black capitalist. That's pretty funny. We got a white supremacy, literally. We've got the patriarchy right there. I thought that was pretty great. Patriarchy. So lots of cool stuff going on the Substack, and I do appreciate people playing my little game. I'm having fun with it, and I'm love seeing what you guys are coming up with. And you got a couple more days to submit your entries. Bree says, Candace was the it girl who'd say what was needed to be said at a time when people weren't speaking out and without apologies. But then she started picking stupid fights and her image went downhill. This lets her be the good guy. Well, she's trying to be the good guy, and I appreciate the super chat, Bree. It's pretty clear to me she's not the good guy. I'm in Mug Club. There has been an overwhelming amount of paying members commenting that they're bailing based on what Candace has said, so he has proof she cost him money. Oh yeah, Steven Crowder can probably sue Candace for defamation, and he'd probably win. Just my opinion, I could be wrong. I'm not a lawyer. Andrew says, just showed up. What I missed is Crowder bad man. I guess my opinion on it, Andrew, is Steven Crowder is an imperfect human being who has probably said and done some really stupid and mean things, but that doesn't mean that this isn't a smear campaign. So I don't think he's as bad as people are trying to paint him. I think this is a smear campaign. And Bree says, and by good guy, I mean the good guy from an image standpoint. I understand. I gotcha. Boring Jeremy, the quartering, is a monetized channel, nothing more / nothing less. I don't really know what that means, Glens, but let me know in the chat if you have a clarification. Jamie, thank you for the super sticker. I do appreciate it. I've had a lot of practice, Shauna. I do appreciate it, though. Let's see. Soul Fire on Fire says she's not doing this on her own. That's why she said she doesn't have enough money that he doesn't have enough money to shut her up. I think that that's true. That's a really good point. Who does she have behind her? Because Steven Crowder probably does provably have more money than Candace. Well, remember though, Candace Owens is married to a British aristocrat. How much money does Candace Owens' husband have? That would be my question. Because she is backed by big money, could be her husband though. Just saying something again by veiling it as something else. I don't disagree. I just think it might be her husband. It could also be the Daily Wire. It could be both. Glenn says the quivering in her voice as she failed to even enunciate her words was so emotionally invested in smearing Crowder. Oh, yeah. I can't believe they did this. No, I can believe they did this. Guys, let me tell you what. I understand that it might be nice to have influencers to follow that say the talking points that you like to hear. I totally get it. It's nice when we have people that agree with us and articulate the points for us that we wish we could articulate ourselves. However, the vast majority of influencers, in my experience, and this is why I do not associate with these people at all, also because I want to be able to do commentary on them and I want to maintain some sort of a detached perspective, but I removed myself from this whole thing after the 2020 election because it's so toxic and it's so bad. And that's not to say they're all bad people. I don't think they're bad people. I think a lot of them are probably trying to do the very best they can. I really do. But there are a lot of really toxic individuals in the influencer space, and they do this shit all the time because they view it as a competition. They think that if they can cut someone else down, that means they're going to make more money and have more fans and have more success and all of that. I don't view things as a competition. I never have. I think I have my audience, and I think that some people are perfect for it, and I think a lot of people are not meant to be in my audience. And if you want to go watch someone else, no harm, no foul, man. It's only my job to say what I think and put out like what I want to put out. And if people like that, great. And if people don't like it, that's fine too. But a lot of people more have the attitude that I have to destroy everyone that gets in my way to making as much money as humanly possible and to having as many supporters as humanly possible. And guess what? Steven Crowder is worth more money than Candace Owens. And he made them look really bad in January. And I really I don't know how people can overlook the facts that are right in front of them and still continue to convince themselves that these are good and upstanding and above board people, because this is my opinion, they are not. I learned the hard way not to trust anyone who creates content on the internet. And by the way, you shouldn't trust me either. Because I get things wrong, okay? I get a lot right. I really get a lot right. We have a whole tip jar for when I get shit right, okay? But I'm not perfect. And I do have my biases, and I try to be pretty upfront about my biases. I will tell you exactly what I think. I do try to be fair. Even if I don't like you, I will give you credit where credit is due. I'm very deliberate about that. But you shouldn't trust me either. Always do your own homework. Always think for yourself. Always question. And if I can't account for something, then you have the choice about whether or not you trust me and go with my opinion or you form your own. You know? But do not trust that any of these people are above board and are doing this for any other reason other than money. In my experience, there are 3 types of people in this space. There are activists, there are entertainers, and there are grifters. Okay? I like to think that I'm an activist. You might disagree with me, that's fine, but that's what I try to be. I am a person that is trying my very best to do what I can do to create change around something that I perceive to be a problem. I think that the woke ideology is a problem. I think authoritarianism on both the left and the right are a problem. I think the public schools are a particular problem. I am doing what I can to educate people about what the woke ideology is and to give them the tools they need to suss it out when it's in their public schools, and to give you guys all the resources and all the information I have. I'm working very hard to download everything I know to you guys because I want to make change in the world. I think that that's what an activist does. They identify a problem. They say, I want to fix this problem. I want to make change that advances my interest towards this problem. And then they go and they do things in the real world to try to solve the problem. The activist group is the smallest group that exists of content creators in this space. The second category is entertainer. Now, an entertainer might care about a problem like the woke ideology. Let's take it as an example. They might care about it. But you know what they care about more? Making money and maintaining their status and being famous on the internet. And so they might care. It's not as though like they're saying stuff they don't believe. They're saying things that they believe. But when push comes to shove, they are never going to try to solve the problem, because if they tried to solve the problem, it would get rid of the thing that they're talking about that is making them so much money and helping them to maintain their status. And so what they do instead is they exploit the problem, which again, I'm not saying they like the problem, but they're not trying to solve it. They will never do anything to solve it, but they'll talk about it ad nauseum every single day to make you think that they want to solve it, but they don't. Those are your entertainers. And then you have category 3, the grifters. The grifters will say whatever they need to say to get you to give them money and to get you to make them famous. And whether they agree with it, whether they disagree with it, it does not matter at all. They will say whatever they need to. And I promise you, I have seen it firsthand. And it was made very, very clear to me in 2020 exactly the talking points that I had to say to make a metric F ton of money in the MAGA conservative content like space. It was made extremely clear to me. People know. You know what the approved talking points are. You know what the approved talking points are not. And if you want to make the most money possible, you follow the approved talking points, whether or not you agree with them. And if you don't agree with them, you better keep your mouth shut. You don't have to say you disagree. You don't have you can't say publicly you disagree with them. You can be quiet about it. You don't have to comment. But you better make sure you hit the majority of the approved talking points, because if you don't do that, you will be cast out and smeared all over the internet. And Lord help you, if you speak out against the approved talking points, then they're really going to get you. And they're going to get you good. And that's where they got me. Because in the middle of June 2021, I stopped taking any advice on what I was going to say and what I wasn't going to say. And in June of 2021, I had weeks of smear campaigns run on me by conservatives. It was the worst cancellation I've ever undergone in my life. They doxed my address all over the internet. I had really bad people after me. It was bad. And that was because I deviated enough from the approved talking points that they sent me a fucking message to shut my fucking mouth. And of course, I ignored them because I'm going to say whatever I want to say. And I've had to deal with this bullshit on an ongoing basis ever since. Now, if I was a grifter, I would never have to deal with it, because I would just say whatever they give me to say. And as long as I'm making money, that's all that really matters. And there are a lot of people who do that. So make sure you know who you're listening to. Are you listening to an activist? Someone who actually does things to try to solve the problem? Are you listening to an entertainer? Someone who is exploiting the problem? Maybe they care about it, but they're not trying to solve it, and they're never going to make moves to actually solve it, but they're going to make you think that they care about it so that they can continue to make money and maintain their status. Or are you listening to a grifter who will quite literally say whatever they need to say and follow the approved script at every turn and always talk about the topic they want you to talk about, never say the things they don't want you to say, because they're only interested in making money? If you know if you're listening to an activist, an entertainer, or a grifter, that will tell you how much you can trust them. But always decide for yourself. Emphasize, what movie are we battling over this weekend after our truce? I'm going to a concert this weekend, Emphasize. I'm going to see Placebo in Boston on Sunday, so I'm not going to movie night this week, but there is a movie night in my supporter Discord. I think they're watching Zardos. But sadly, I will be at a concert. Placebo is one of my favorite bands. Brian Malco. I should be listening to Placebo right now to psych myself up. Brian Malco is fucking genius, man. I get to see him live in Boston on Sunday, and I'm really excited about that. Let me see. Zardos, Jennifer said. Zardos. All right, guys, that's really all I have for tonight. I got to get going. I got some stuff I got to do, but I hope people enjoyed my takes for the evening. I will be streaming at 5 p.m. We will be doing happy hour. We are watching White and Woke at Work again. Just as a reminder, we are doing Socialism Saturday on Saturday at 6 p.m. We are watching the George Floyd Rebellion, the riots of 2020, told through the eyes of socialists. It's going to be great. Please make sure you subscribe to the channel. Please make sure you ring that bell and you turn on notifications. And of course, please make sure you mount that like button on the way out the door. I really do appreciate it, guys. What a great stream. I had a fun time. Do you guys have fun? It's a rough topic, but we have fun with rough topics because we need to. If we don't laugh, we'll cry. All that. All right, guys, have a good night. Take care, and we'll see you soon.